Marina Vale sat in her sleek black Bentley, watching Chicago fade behind the tinted windows. $5 million. 24 hours. And the city's most dangerous man sat beside her as if she were the only thing left in the world. She had just betrayed her fiancé. Just stepped into the world of someone who could destroy her with a nod. But the scariest thing? For the first time in her life, she didn't want to go home. This is the story of a Valentine's night that changed two lives forever. Watch until the end, and comment the name of the city you're watching in so I know how far this story has come. Now, let's begin where everything fell apart. The Onyx nightclub tasted like money and bad decisions. Marina Vale sat at the VIP table her friends had rented, watching pink strobe lights cut through cigarette smoke while bass rattled her ribs. Her bachelorette party. 23 women screaming congratulations at her while she counted the exits. 4 ways out. 5 if she jumped from the second-floor balcony into the back alley. She wasn't planning to jump, but knowing the options made breathing easier. "Marina, come on!" Her maid of honor, Jessica, grabbed her wrist hard enough to leave marks. Vodka sloshed from the plastic tiara on her head. "You're getting married in 3 weeks, and you look like you're at a goddamn funeral." Marina forced a smile that felt like broken glass in her throat. "I'm having fun." "Bullshit." Jessica leaned close, breath sharp with tequila. "Adrian's probably getting a lap dance right now at his bachelor party. The least you could do is pretend you're excited about marrying him." The least. That word had defined Marina's entire life. The least she could do was smile when her mother criticized her weight. The least she could do was accept Adrian's proposal after 3 years of him treating her like furniture he occasionally remembered to dust. The least she could do was show up to her own bachelorette party instead of drowning herself in Lake Michigan like part of her wanted to. "I need air," Marina said. Jessica rolled her eyes and turned back to the other bridesmaids who were already ordering another round of shots they'd charged to Marina's credit card. Nobody stopped her when she walked away. The club's second floor wrapped around the main dance floor like a predator's jaw. Marina found an empty corner near the railing where the music wasn't loud enough to split her skull open. She pressed her palms against the cool metal and stared down at the chaos below. Bodies grinding, hands grabbing, mouths tasting whatever they could reach. Everyone looked so certain, so hungry, so alive in ways Marina had forgotten how to be. She touched the engagement ring on her finger. 3 carats. Platinum band. Adrian had proposed in front of his entire family at Christmas dinner, so she couldn't say no without humiliating him. Smart man. He knew how to trap things. Her phone buzzed. Text from Adrian. "Having fun, baby? Don't do anything I wouldn't do." The emoji made her stomach twist. Adrian thought he was charming, thought his casual cruelty was flirting, thought Marina was too grateful for his attention to ever question why he loved her. She started typing a response, then deleted it, then typed again, deleted again. The truth was she didn't know how to talk to her own fiancé without lying. "You planning to jump?" The voice came from behind her, low and rough like gravel scraping concrete. Marina spun around so fast she nearly dropped her phone. The man standing 3 feet away looked like violence wearing an expensive suit. 6'3", maybe 6'4". Broad shoulders that stretched Italian wool to its limits. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from stone if stone had sharp cheekbones and a jaw that looked designed to break things. His eyes were the worst part, gray and cold, and looking at Marina like she was a problem he was deciding whether to solve or ignore. "Excuse me?" Marina took a step back. "The railing." He nodded toward where she'd been standing. "You were leaning pretty far over, just wondering if you were measuring the drop." "I wasn't." Marina stopped. "Who are you?" "Roman." He didn't offer his last name, didn't offer his hand either, just stood there studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "You're the bride." It wasn't a question. Marina glanced down at the ridiculous white sash Jessica had forced her to wear across her chest. "Bride to be in silver glitter letters." "Good detective work," she said. The corner of his mouth almost moved. Almost. "You don't look happy about it." "You don't know anything about me. I know you've been sitting alone at your own bachelorette party for 40 minutes while your friends get drunk on your money. I know you check your phone every 3 minutes but never actually send the text you're writing. I know you're wearing a ring that costs more than most people's cars, but you keep touching it like it's a handcuff instead of a promise." Marina's breath caught. She wanted to tell him to go to hell. wanted to ask how long he'd been watching her, wanted to know why a stranger's observations felt more honest than anything her fiancé had said in months. Instead, she asked, "Why do you care?" Roman was quiet for a moment. The music pounded beneath them, making the floor vibrate. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than before. "I don't," he said, "but I'm bored and you look like you're about to shatter. Figured I'd see which one of us breaks first." Before Marina could respond, two men stumbled up the stairs and crashed into the railing near them. Drunk, early 30s, polo shirts and cologne that smelled like they'd bathed in it. "Holy shit," the taller one slurred, grabbing his friend's arm. "Look at this one." They were staring at Marina. She went rigid. The club suddenly felt too small, too hot, too loud. "Hey, beautiful," the second man said, moving closer. "You here alone?" "No." Marina's voice came out smaller than she wanted. "I'm just what?" The tall one grinned. His teeth were too white. "Waiting for someone to buy you a drink? Because we can definitely help with that." Roman didn't move, didn't even look at them. But something in the air changed, pressure building before a storm. "She said no," Roman said quietly. The drunk men finally noticed him. The tall one's grin faltered. "Relax, man. We're just talking to her." "You're done talking." The second man laughed, but it sounded nervous. "Who the hell are you, her bodyguard?" Roman looked at Marina then, just for a second. And in that second she saw something dark and patient and absolutely certain swimming behind those gray eyes. "Leave," Roman said to the men, "before I make you." "Make us?" The tall one puffed his chest out. "Listen, asshole." Roman moved so fast Marina almost missed it. One moment he was standing still. The next his hand was wrapped around the tall man's throat, slamming him back against the wall hard enough to rattle the picture frames. The man's face went purple. His friend stumbled backward with his hands up. "When I tell you to leave," Roman said, voice completely calm, "you leave. You don't argue, you don't posture, you thank me for being gentle, and you walk away before I stop being polite." He released the man's throat. The drunk stumbled, coughing, and his friend grabbed him before he fell. They both scrambled toward the stairs without looking back. Marina stood frozen. Her heart was slamming against her ribs so hard it hurt. Roman straightened his tie like nothing had happened. "You okay?" "You just—" Marina couldn't finish the sentence. "Who are you?" "I told you, Roman." "That's not what I mean." He studied her for a long moment. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. Simple. Black. No company name, just a phone number embossed in silver. "You want to know who I am?" Roman said. "Call that number tomorrow." "Why would I do that?" "Because you're not happy, and I think you're finally ready to admit it." He turned to walk away. "Wait." The word came out before Marina could stop it. Roman stopped but didn't turn around. Just waited. Marina didn't know what she was doing. Didn't know why she was still talking to a man who just choked someone unconscious in a nightclub. But standing there in her ridiculous sash with her phone full of unsent texts and her finger weighed down by a ring she never wanted, something inside her cracked open. "What if I called you tonight instead?" Roman turned slowly. The look on his face wasn't surprise. It was recognition, like he'd been waiting for her to say exactly that. "Then I'd say meet me downstairs in 5 minutes. He disappeared down the stairs before Marina could change her mind. She stood there shaking. The smart thing would be to go back to her friends, delete his number. Forget this ever happened. In 3 weeks, she'd marry Adrian and spend the rest of her life being grateful he'd chosen her despite her flaws. Safe, predictable, suffocating. Marina looked at the business card in her hand. Then she walked downstairs. The main floor of Onyx was packed tighter than before. Marina pushed through sweating bodies and spilled drinks, searching for Roman in the chaos. She found him standing near the bar, hands in his pockets, looking like the only still point in a spinning world. He saw her coming, and something flickered across his face. Not quite a smile. Something darker. "I wasn't sure you'd show," he said when she reached him. "I wasn't sure either." "You want a drink first?" Marina shook her head. Her throat was dry, but alcohol would make her stupid, and she needed to stay sharp around this man. Every instinct she had was screaming that Roman was dangerous. The kind of dangerous that didn't announce itself with threats or violence. just quiet certainty that he could destroy her life if he wanted to. "Then let's get out of here," Roman said. He started walking toward the exit. Marina followed, telling herself she could still turn back, still run upstairs and pretend this was just a weird moment she'd laugh about later. But her feet kept moving forward. They stepped outside into Chicago's February cold. The air hit Marina's bare arms like a slap. She'd left her coat upstairs with Jessica, hadn't planned to leave, hadn't planned any of this. Roman shrugged out of his suit jacket and draped it over her shoulders without asking. It smelled like cedar and something darker she couldn't name. The silk lining was still warm from his body. "Where are we going?" Marina asked. "Somewhere we can talk without screaming over bass drops." A black Bentley pulled up to the curb like it had been summoned. The driver stepped out, older man, gray beard, military posture, and opened the back door without looking at either of them. Roman gestured for Marina to get in. She hesitated. This was it. The moment where she either made the stupidest decision of her life or the bravest. Hard to tell which. "I don't even know your last name," she said. "Vane. Roman Vane." He tilted his head slightly. "And you're Marina Vale, 28 years old. Works at Harbor Women's Shelter. Engaged to Adrian Mercer, son of the Mercer Hotel empire. Your bachelorette party is upstairs being paid for with your own credit card, while your fiancé spends the night at a strip club his father owns." Marina's blood went cold. "How do you know all that?" "I make it my business to know things about people before I talk to them." That's, she wanted to say creepy, wanted to run. But part of her was oddly relieved that someone had actually bothered to learn anything real about her. Adrian still thought she worked at a regular homeless shelter instead of a facility specifically for abused women. That's invasive. "Yes, son," Roman agreed. "It is, but at least I'm honest about it." He had a point. A terrible, unsettling point. Marina looked back at the club. Through the tinted windows, she could see bodies still moving, still drinking, still pretending tomorrow wouldn't come with consequences. Jessica was probably face down in the bathroom by now. The bridesmaids were probably ordering bottle service on Marina's tab while texting their own boyfriends. Nobody would notice she was gone. That realization hurt more than it should have. Marina slid into the back seat. Roman climbed in after her and the driver closed the door, sealing them inside leather and silence. The Bentley pulled away from the curb so smoothly Marina barely felt it move. Roman sat on the opposite seat, not touching her, not crowding her space, just watching with those gray eyes that saw too much. "You can change your mind," he said quietly. "Tell my driver and he'll take you anywhere you want to go, back to the club, home, anywhere." Marina pulled his jacket tighter around her shoulders. "Where are we going?" "My place." "That's not ominous at all." The corner of his mouth moved again. Still not quite a smile, but closer than before. "You want ominous, I can arrange that. But mostly, I just want to talk somewhere private. No performance, no audience. Just two people being honest for a few hours. And if I say no, then you say no. I'm not in the habit of forcing women into cars, Marina." The way he said her name made something in her chest tighten. Not harsh, not sweet, just present. Like he was tasting the syllables to see how they fit in his mouth. "Okay," she heard herself say. Roman nodded once, then he pulled out his phone and sent a text. Marina caught a glimpse of the message before he locked the screen. "Cancel tonight." Something came up. "You had plans?" she asked. "I always have plans on Valentine's Eve." "What kind of plans?" Roman looked out the window at Chicago sliding past in streaks of neon and shadow. "The kind that don't matter anymore." They drove in silence for a while. Marina watched the city change as they moved from the downtown club district into neighborhoods with actual trees and houses that cost more than most people would earn in 10 lifetimes. The Bentley finally turned through iron gates that opened automatically and climbed a long driveway lined with bare oak trees. Roman's house, no, mansion, sat on top of a hill like a crown made of stone and glass. Lights glowed warm in the windows. The driveway curved around a fountain that wasn't running because of the cold. Marina's entire apartment could fit in his garage. "Jesus," she whispered. "Close," Roman said. "But no." The driver stopped in front of massive wooden doors. Roman got out first and offered Marina his hand. She took it without thinking, his palm warm and rough with calluses that didn't belong on a businessman's hands. They walked inside. The entrance hall was all marble and chandeliers and a staircase that curved upward like a question mark. But it didn't feel cold despite all the stone. There were books stacked on a side table, a pair of reading glasses, a coffee mug with a faint ring stain on the rim. Someone actually lived here. "Can I get you anything?" Roman asked, shrugging off his coat. Underneath, he wore a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. Marina noticed scars on his forearms, old ones. "Water? Coffee? Something stronger?" "Water's fine." "Kitchen's this way." Marina followed him through rooms that felt more like a museum than a home. Except they weren't cold or lifeless, just filled with expensive things that someone had actually touched, used, lived around. The kitchen was huge and modern, all stainless steel and black marble. Roman grabbed 2 glasses from a cabinet and filled them from a pitcher in the fridge. His movements were economical, practiced, like he'd spent time in kitchens that weren't his own. He handed her the water, their fingers brushed. Marina took a long drink, suddenly realizing how thirsty she was. When she lowered the glass, Roman was watching her again with that unnerving focus. "So," she said, needing to break the silence, "you bring a lot of engaged women to your house on Valentine's Eve? You're the first. Should I feel special or terrified?" "Both, probably." Marina laughed. It surprised her, this sharp, genuine sound that felt like it belonged to someone else. "You're honest. I'll give you that." "Lying takes too much energy," Roman said. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "Besides, you've spent enough time around liars. Figured you deserved a break." The comment landed harder than he probably meant it to. Marina set her glass down carefully. "You don't know anything about my life. I know your fiancé's been cheating on you for at least 8 months. I know he proposed because his father threatened to cut his trust fund if he didn't settle down before 30. I know you said yes because your mother told you no one else would want to marry a woman with vitiligo and you should be grateful for the attention." Marina's hands went numb. "How? I told you, I make it my business to know things." "That's not knowing things. That's..." Her voice cracked. "That's my entire life. You had me investigated?" Roman didn't look away, didn't apologize. "Yes." "Why?" "Because I saw you sitting alone at your bachelorette party looking like you wanted to disappear, and I thought..." He stopped, took a breath, started again. "I thought maybe you were tired of pretending, same as me." Marina stared at him. Every rational part of her brain was screaming to run, call the police, get away from this man who knew too much and felt too dangerous and was looking at her like she was the only real thing in his empty mansion. But she didn't run. Instead, she asked the question burning in her throat. "What do you want from me?" Roman was quiet for a long moment. Jazz music played softly from speakers Marina couldn't see. Through the kitchen window, she could see Chicago's lights scattered across the horizon like dying stars. 24 hours, Roman finally said. "What?" "Spend Valentine's Day with me. Tomorrow. 24 hours. No strings. No expectations. Just your presence." Marina laughed, but it came out wrong. Brittle. "You're insane." "Probably." Roman pushed off the counter and took a step toward her. Not crowding, not threatening, just close enough that she could see the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his jaw, the exhaustion he wore like a second skin. "But I'm also serious, tomorrow, just you and me. No performance, no pretending, just 2 people being honest in a city that trades in lies." "And then what?" "Then nothing. You go back to your life, marry Adrian if that's what you want, forget you ever met me." Marina's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. "Why would you want that? Why would anyone?" "Because every February 14th for the last 5 years I've spent alone," Roman said, voice dropping to something raw and dangerous. "And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the empty house and the expensive scotch and the women who pretend to care because I pay them to. I'm tired of waking up the morning after Valentine's Day feeling like I survived something instead of lived through it." He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. When he looked at Marina again, his eyes were exhausted. "So yeah, I'm asking a stranger to spend tomorrow with me. It's pathetic, it's desperate, but at least it's honest." Marina couldn't breathe. Nobody had ever been this honest with her. Not Adrian with his perfect lies, not her mother with her loving cruelty. Not even herself in the mirror at 3 in the morning, when insomnia stripped away all her defenses. "And if I say no," she whispered, "then I'll have my driver take you home. We'll pretend this never happened. You'll marry Adrian, and I'll go back to spending Valentine's Day alone." Marina looked down at her engagement ring. 3 carats of carbon compressed under pressure until it became something people wanted, beautiful because it survived. She thought about Adrian's text, his casual assumption that she'd forgive anything, his absolute certainty that she'd never leave. She thought about her mother's voice. "No one else will want you. You should be grateful." She thought about sitting alone at her own bachelorette party, counting exits, planning escape routes from a life she'd never actually chosen. Then she looked at Roman, this dangerous, damaged man offering her something no one else ever had. Truth. "How much?" Marina asked. Roman frowned. "What? You said no strings. But everything has a price." She forced herself to meet his eyes. "How much are you offering for 24 hours of my time?" Something dark flickered across Roman's face. For a second, Marina thought she'd offended him, insulted him, crossed some invisible line that would make him throw her out. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times, turned it to show her. Marina looked at the number on the banking app and her legs went weak. $5 million. That's... She couldn't finish. "That's not real." "It's very real, and it's yours if you say yes. Whether you go through with the 24 hours or change your mind after 10 minutes. The money's yours either way." "Why?" Roman locked his phone and slipped it back in his pocket. "Because I can afford it. Because your shelter could use the funding. Because every woman I've ever met who says yes to me only does it for money. So at least this way, we're both honest about the transaction." Marina's head was spinning. $5 million. She could quit her job, leave Adrian, disappear somewhere Adrian's father's lawyers couldn't find her, start completely over. Or she could donate it all to Harbor and walk away clean. Or she could say no and go back to her life and spend the rest of her existence wondering what would have happened if she'd been brave enough to say yes. "Just 24 hours?" she asked. "Just 24 hours. And you don't expect..." Marina couldn't say it. "You're not paying for sex?" Roman's voice was flat. "No, I can hire professionals for that. This isn't about sex, Marina. It's about not being alone on the one day of the year I can't stand my own company." He turned away from her, looking out the kitchen window at his empty grounds. "You can think about it. Sleep on it. I'll have my driver take you home and you can call me tomorrow with your answer." "Okay," Marina whispered. Roman nodded once, shoulders tight. He pulled out his phone to call the driver. "Okay, I'll do it," Marina said. Roman went still. Slowly, he turned back to face her. "Say that again." Marina's hands were shaking, but her voice came out steady. 24 hours, tomorrow, Valentine's Day. I'll spend it with you." "Why?" The question surprised her. "You're offering me $5 million. Why do you care why?" "Because I need to know you're not going to spend the entire day hating yourself for saying yes. I need to know you actually want to be here." Marina thought about that. Really thought about it. And the truth that came up surprised her. "I don't want to go home," she said quietly. "I don't want to get married in 3 weeks to a man who makes me feel invisible. I don't want to spend the rest of my life being grateful someone chose me instead of being someone worth choosing." She met Roman's eyes. "So yeah, I want to be here, even if I don't understand why." Roman studied her for a long moment. Then he crossed the kitchen in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. Marina froze. Roman's body was solid and warm, and she could feel his heartbeat against her cheek, fast and unsteady. Not the heartbeat of a man in control, the heartbeat of someone as terrified as she was. "Thank you," he whispered into her hair. Marina stood rigid in his embrace for another second. Then slowly, carefully, she let herself relax. Let herself feel held instead of trapped. Let herself admit how long it had been since anyone touched her like she mattered. Roman released her after a moment and stepped back. His expression was carefully neutral again. Walls rebuilt. "It's late," he said. "You should get some sleep. Guest room's upstairs, second door on the left. Everything you need should be there." "You're not..." Marina stopped. "Where will you sleep?" "I won't." Roman's smile was thin and sharp. "I never sleep on Valentine's Eve. Old habit." Before Marina could ask what that meant, her phone buzzed. She pulled it out of Roman's jacket pocket. Text from Adrian. Where are you? Jessica says you left the club. WTF, Marina? Followed by, you better not be doing something stupid. And finally, call me, now. Marina stared at the messages. Adrian's concern wasn't about her safety. It was about her obedience, about making sure his investment didn't wander off before the wedding locked everything in place. She typed back, I'm fine. Staying with a friend tonight. See you tomorrow. Adrian's response came immediately. What friend? You don't have friends. Marina turned her phone off without answering. Roman was watching her carefully. He's going to be angry. Probably. You sure you want to do this? Marina looked at Roman, the stranger who'd seen through her in minutes, who'd investigated her entire life, who was offering her money and honesty and 24 hours of not pretending. No, she said, but I'm doing it anyway. Roman's expression softened for just a second, then he nodded toward the stairs. Second door on the left. I'll wake you at 8. Marina walked upstairs, still wearing his jacket, her phone dark in her pocket. The guest room was enormous, king bed, private bathroom, windows overlooking the grounds. There were clothes laid out on the bed, women's clothes, jeans and a sweater in exactly her size. She didn't ask how he knew. Instead, she changed out of her club dress, washed her face, and climbed into bed that smelled like clean sheets and expensive detergent. Through the walls, she could hear jazz music playing, Roman moving around somewhere in the house. Not sleeping. Never sleeping. Marina closed her eyes. Tomorrow she would wake up and spend 24 hours with a dangerous man for $5 million. Tomorrow, she would commit the kind of betrayal she couldn't take back. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, for the first time in years, Marina fell asleep without counting exits. Because for once, she didn't want to escape. Marina woke to silence so complete it felt like drowning. No traffic, no sirens, no neighbors screaming through paper-thin walls, just expensive quiet wrapping around her like a shroud. She lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling, trying to remember where she was. Then it all came rushing back. Onyx, Roman Vane, the Bentley, $5 million for 24 hours of pretending she wasn't suffocating in her own life. Her phone sat on the nightstand, still off. She didn't turn it on. The clock beside it read 7:47 a.m., Valentine's Day. The day she was supposed to be getting her nails done with her bridesmaids while Adrian played golf with his groomsmen. The day she was supposed to be grateful and excited and too busy to notice the trap closing around her throat. Instead, she was in a stranger's mansion wearing borrowed clothes and no engagement ring. She'd taken it off before bed, left it sitting on the bathroom counter like a dead thing. Marina sat up slowly. Her head felt clear despite only sleeping 5 hours. Through the windows, she could see Chicago stretched out below the hill, buildings catching early morning light like they were on fire. Someone knocked on the door. Come in, Marina said, pulling the covers up to her chest. Roman pushed the door open but didn't enter. He was already dressed, dark jeans, black sweater, hair still damp from a shower. He looked exhausted, eyes shadowed, jaw tight, like he'd spent the whole night wrestling something that wouldn't die. Morning, he said. Did you sleep at all? No. He didn't elaborate, just stood there in the doorway watching her with that unnerving focus. There's breakfast downstairs if you're hungry. Take your time. No rush. He started to close the door. Roman. He stopped. Marina pulled the blanket tighter. I need to ask you something. Okay. Last night you said you'd spent the last 5 Valentine's days alone. Why? Roman's expression went completely flat. For a second, Marina thought he wouldn't answer. Then he opened the door wider and leaned against the frame. Someone died, he said simply. Someone I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with. Every February 14th, I visit her grave and drink myself unconscious so I don't have to remember what it felt like to be happy. The words hit Marina like a fist. I'm sorry. Don't be. You didn't kill her. Roman's voice was matter-of-fact. Empty. Drunk driver did that. Rich kid from Evanston. Got 6 months in county because his father owned half the DA's office. Marina's chest tightened. That's not justice. No, it's not. Roman pushed off the doorframe. Get dressed. We leave in 30 minutes. He left before Marina could ask what happened to the drunk driver after he got out of jail. She already knew she wouldn't like the answer. Marina found the kitchen by following the smell of coffee and something savory she couldn't identify. Roman stood at the stove wearing an apron that looked absurd on someone his size, flipping what looked like smoked salmon onto toasted bread. "You cook?" Marina asked from the doorway. "I do a lot of things people don't expect." Roman didn't look up. "Coffee's fresh. Mugs in the cabinet above the sink." Marina poured herself a cup and watched Roman work. His movements were efficient, practiced, like someone who'd spent real time in kitchens that weren't his own. She thought about the scars on his forearms, wondered what kind of life put calluses on a rich man's hands. "Where are we going today?" she asked. "Places." "That's specific." Roman plated the salmon sandwiches and carried them to the kitchen island. "Sit, eat, then you'll see." Marina climbed onto one of the bar stools and stared at the sandwich. It looked professionally made. Capers, dill, cream cheese spread so precisely it could have been measured with calipers. "You really made this?" she asked. "You think I have a secret chef hiding in the pantry?" "I think you're full of surprises." "Good." Roman took a bite of his own sandwich. "So are you." They ate in silence for a while. The food was better than it had any right to be. Marina hadn't realized how hungry she was until she'd finished half the sandwich. Her phone buzzed on the counter, still off. The vibration was just the ghost of messages piling up somewhere in the digital void. Roman noticed. "You should probably turn that on." "Why?" "Because your fiancé's probably losing his mind. And if he reports you missing, things get complicated." Marina looked at the dark screen. "What if I don't care?" "Then don't turn it on. But understand what you're choosing." She picked up the phone, pressed the power button, watched it come to life like a bomb counting down. 43 messages, 12 call, 5 voicemails. All from Adrian except 3 texts from Jessica asking where the hell she'd disappeared to and did she need bail money. Marina scrolled through Adrian's messages without opening them. The preview text was enough. "Where are you?" "This isn't funny. Call me now." "I swear to God, Marina, if you're with another guy." The threats escalated. The concern stayed non-existent. Marina typed back one message. "I'm fine. Need some space. We'll call you later." She didn't wait for his response, just set the phone face down and took another bite of salmon. Roman was watching her carefully. "You okay?" "No, but I'm here anyway." "Fair enough." He finished his coffee and stood. "Come on, first stop's waiting." "Where, sir?" "You'll see." Marina followed him through the house to a garage that held 6 cars. Roman walked past a Mercedes, an Audi, a Tesla, and stopped at an old Dodge pickup truck that looked like it had survived a war. "This one?" Marina asked. "This one." Roman opened the passenger door for her. "The Bentley draws too much attention. Today we're ghosts." Marina climbed in. The interior smelled like old leather and motor oil. The seat had a rip held together with duct tape. This truck had been used, loved, driven into the ground and rebuilt a dozen times. Roman started the engine. It coughed twice, then roared to life. "Where'd you get this?" Marina asked. "Bought it when I was 19. Needed something to haul furniture when I was flipping houses in Englewood." Roman backed out of the garage. "Probably should have gotten rid of it years ago, but it's the only thing I own that remembers who I used to be." They drove down the hill and into Chicago proper. The city looked different in daylight, less menacing, more tired, like it had partied too hard the night before and was trying to pretend it felt fine. Roman drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting on the shift knob. He didn't turn on music, didn't make small talk, just navigated through morning traffic like he was heading somewhere specific. They ended up in Oak Park. Roman parked in front of a small brick house with a for sale sign planted in the dead grass. The windows were dark. The porch sagged. "This is where I grew up," Roman said, staring at the house through the windshield. "Moved out when I was 17. Haven't been back since my mother died." Marina looked at the house, tried to imagine a younger Roman living there. Couldn't reconcile the mansion on the hill with this narrow brick box. "Why are we here?" she asked. Roman was quiet for a long time, then he opened his door. "Because I wanted you to see where I came from before you decided whether to trust me." He got out. Marina followed. The yard was overgrown. Someone had tried to maintain it for a while, but given up months ago. Roman walked up to the porch and pulled a key from his pocket. Old, brass, scratched to hell. You still have a key? Marina asked. Never gave it back. Roman unlocked the door. It swung open with a sound like a scream. Estate agent keeps telling me to sell, but I can't seem to let it go. Inside the house was frozen in time. Furniture covered in sheets, boxes stacked in corners, dust thick enough to write your name in. Roman walked through the rooms like a ghost visiting his own haunting. Marina followed, not speaking, just watching him touch door frames and light switches like they were relics from another life. In the kitchen, he stopped in front of the refrigerator. Someone had left magnets on it. A handwritten note. Roman. Milk in fridge. Don't forget your brother's game tonight. Love, Mom. The handwriting was shaky. The date was 8 years old. She wrote that the day before she died, Roman said quietly. Stroke. Happened so fast she didn't even hit the floor. Just gone. Marina's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Everyone's sorry. Doesn't bring her back. Roman pulled the note off the fridge and folded it carefully, slipped it in his pocket. She worked 3 jobs to keep this house. Died with $17 in her bank account and medical bills she'd never finish paying. That's what honest work gets you in this city. What about your father? Prison. Armed robbery when I was 12. Got out when I was 23 and OD'd 6 months later. Roman looked at Marina then. That's my family history. That's what I come from. Still want to spend the day with me? Marina moved closer to him. Yes? Why? Because you're showing me the truth. No one's done that in years. Roman's jaw worked. He looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Instead, he just nodded once and walked back outside. They drove in silence for a while after that. Roman's hands were tight on the wheel. Marina watched Chicago slide past the windows and wondered what the hell she was doing. Her phone buzzed again. Adrian, are you fucking kidding me right now? 3 weeks before our wedding and you need space? My parents are asking questions. You're making me look like an idiot. Marina turned the phone off again. He's not asking if you're safe, Roman said quietly. I noticed. You deserve better than that. Marina laughed, but it came out bitter. You don't know what I deserve? I know you deserve someone who gives a shit whether you're alive or dead before they worry about looking stupid to their parents. The words hung in the air between them, true and brutal and impossible to argue with. Roman pulled into a parking lot. Marina looked up at the building in front of them, and her breath caught. Harbor Women's Shelter. Why are we here? She asked. Because you spend 40 hours a week in this place, and I wanted to see why. Roman turned off the truck. And because there's someone inside who needs to meet you. They walked through the front doors. Deborah, the shelter director, looked up from the reception desk and her face went through about 6 emotions in 2 seconds. Marina, I thought you had today off. I do, just... Marina glanced at Roman. Showing a friend around. Deborah's eyes moved between them, clearly doing math that didn't add up. Right. Well, your friend has impeccable timing. We just got a new arrival this morning. 16 years old, won't talk to anyone. Maybe you could... Where is she? Marina was already moving toward the back rooms. 3. But Marina, she's pretty shut down. Marina was gone before Deborah finished. Roman started to follow, but Deborah held up a hand. You can wait here. She doesn't like strange men around when she's working. Roman leaned against the reception desk. How long has Marina been volunteering here? 4 years, 5 days a week. More if we need her. Deborah studied him carefully. You a boyfriend or something? Or something? Uh-huh. Well, or something. You should know Marina's the only reason half these women trust anyone. She's got a gift for making broken people feel seen. Deborah's expression hardened. So if you're here to hurt her, I've got a baseball bat under this desk and 0 patience for men who waste my time. Roman smiled. It wasn't friendly. Noted. 20 minutes later, Marina emerged from the back hall, holding the hand of a teenage girl with bruises on her neck shaped like fingers. The girl wasn't crying, but her eyes were red and empty. Marina knelt down in front of her. I'm going to come check on you tomorrow, okay? And the day after that, and the day after that. You're safe here, I promise. The girl nodded once. Deborah came over and gently led her toward the stairs. Marina stood there for a moment, hands shaking, breathing hard. Then she seemed to remember Roman was there and turned to face him. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't apologize. Roman's voice was rough. What you just did was the most honest thing I've seen in years. Marina looked surprised. Then something in her expression cracked open. Can we leave? I need air. Outside the shelter, Marina leaned against the truck and closed her eyes. Roman gave her space, just stood there while she breathed through whatever was clawing at her chest. Her name's Sophie, Marina said finally. Her boyfriend did that to her, 16 years old, and she thinks it's her fault for making him angry. Is he still alive? What? Roman's expression was calm, too calm. The boyfriend. Is he still walking around? That's not... Marina stopped. You can't just kill people because they're monsters. Why not? Because that's not how the world works. The world works exactly like that. People just pretend it doesn't so they can sleep at night. Roman pulled out his phone. What's his name? I'm not telling you that. Marina. No. She pushed off the truck. I know what you are. I know what you do. But that girl doesn't need revenge. She needs safety. She needs therapy. She needs people who won't solve her problems with violence. Roman looked at her for a long moment. Then he put his phone away. You're right. What? You're right. I'm wrong. She needs what you said. Roman opened the truck door. Get in. Next stop. Marina climbed in, still rattled. Roman drove them to a small Italian restaurant in Little Italy, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and wine bottles covered in candle wax. An old man behind the counter looked up when they walked in. His face split into a huge grin. Romano! He came around the counter moving faster than someone his age should be able to. How long has it been? Too long, Sal. Roman embraced the old man carefully. Place looks good. Place looks like shit, but you're a terrible liar. Sal turned to Marina. And who's this beautiful lady you've brought to my restaurant? Marina, this is Sal Benedetto. Taught me everything I know about cooking. Marina shook Sal's hand. Roman cooked for me this morning. He didn't mention he learned from a professional. Professional? Sal laughed. I ran a food truck in Cicero for 30 years. Only professional thing about me is I never poisoned nobody on purpose. He grabbed Roman's shoulders. This boy washed dishes for me when he was 17. Slept in the back of the truck some nights when things got bad at home. Now look at him. Too fancy to visit his old friend. I'm here now, Roman said quietly. Yes, you are. Sit, both of you. I'll make you something that'll ruin every other meal you ever eat. They sat at a corner table while Sal disappeared into the kitchen. The restaurant was empty except for them. You lived in his food truck? Marina asked. Some nights, when my mom was working doubles and I couldn't stand being alone in that house. Roman traced a pattern on the checkered tablecloth. Sal never asked questions, just gave me food and a place to sleep and kicked my ass when I needed it. He seems to care about you. He's one of 3 people in this city who knew me before I became what I am now. Marina wanted to ask what happened to the other 2, but Sal came back carrying plates of pasta that smelled like heaven wrapped in garlic. They ate. Sal told stories about young Roman burning sauce and cutting his finger open trying to dice onions. Roman didn't interrupt. Just let the old man talk while Marina watched something soften in his expression. When they finished eating, Sal wouldn't take Roman's money. Your money's no good here, ragazzo. Never has been. Never will be. Roman pulled out his wallet anyway and left $500 under his plate when Sal wasn't looking. Outside, Marina turned to Roman. How much money have you given him over the years? Enough to keep the restaurant running when the neighborhood went to shit. Does he know? No. And you're not going to tell him. Roman unlocked the truck. Some people need to believe their success is their own. Sal's one of them. They drove to a law library next. Roman parked and stared at the building like it was a grave. I got into Northwestern Law School, he said. Full scholarship, graduated top of my class, passed the bar on my first try. Marina waited. Then I walked away. Never practiced a single day. Roman's hands tightened on the wheel. Because I realized the law doesn't protect people like my mother. It protects people like the drunk driver who killed the woman I loved. It protects people like your fiancé's father who can buy his son out of consequences. So what did you do instead? I became the thing the law couldn't stop. Roman looked at her then. His eyes were dark, tired, honest. I built an empire that operates in the spaces where the law pretends not to see. I protect people the system abandoned, and I make sure the people who hurt them understand there are consequences even money can't buy. Marina's heart was pounding. You're telling me you're a criminal. I'm telling you I'm exactly what you already knew I was. The only question is whether you can live with that truth. Before Marina could answer, her phone started ringing, not buzzing, full volume. She'd forgotten to silence it after turning it back on. Adrian's name flashed across the screen. Roman looked at the phone, then at Marina. You should answer that. Marina's hand shook as she picked up. Hello? Adrian's voice exploded through the speaker. Where the fuck are you? I told you. I needed space. Space? Space? We're getting married in 3 weeks, and you disappear on Valentine's Day, and you think I need space as an acceptable answer? Marina pulled the phone away from her ear. Roman could hear Adrian screaming from across the truck. Adrian, calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Jessica said you left the club with some guy. Is that true? Are you with another man right now? Marina looked at Roman. He was watching her with that same calm intensity. Yes, she said. Silence on the other end. Then Adrian's voice came back low and dangerous. Who is he? A friend. You don't have friends. I have one now. Marina, I swear to God, if you're fucking someone else, I'm not. Not yet, anyway. The thought appeared before Marina could stop it. I just needed time to think. Think about what? About us? About throwing away 3 years because you're having some kind of breakdown? Marina closed her eyes. I'm hanging up now. Don't you dare! She ended the call, turned the phone off, threw it in her purse like it was radioactive. Roman gave her a minute. Then he said quietly, You want to go back? To what? To a man who just screamed at me for needing space? To a wedding I never wanted? Marina's voice cracked. To a life where the best I can hope for is being tolerated? Then where do you want to go? Marina looked at him. This dangerous man who'd shown her more honesty in 12 hours than she'd seen in 3 years, who cooked for her and showed her his childhood home and let an old man tell embarrassing stories, who'd built an empire from nothing because the law failed everyone he loved. I want to see what comes next, she whispered. Roman held her gaze for a long moment. Then he started the truck. They drove to the lake, parked near the observatory, and walked through snow that had started falling again. Chicago spread out before them, looking almost beautiful in the white silence. Roman led her to a bench overlooking the water. They sat down and didn't speak for a while. Just watched snow settle on the frozen lake like the city was being erased one flake at a time. Tell me about her, Marina said finally. The woman you lost. Roman was quiet so long Marina thought he wouldn't answer. Then he started talking. Her name was Claire. Met her in law school. She was funny and sharp, and she saw through every lie I'd built around myself. His voice was soft, distant. She knew what I came from, knew about my father, my mother, the violence I'd grown up around. She didn't care. She loved me anyway. What happened? Valentine's Day, 5 years ago. She was driving to meet me for dinner. Drunk driver ran a red light going 60 in a residential zone. Killed her instantly. Roman's jaw worked. Driver was 22. Trust fund kid from Evanston. His father owned half the DA's office. Got 6 months in county for vehicular manslaughter. And when he got out, Roman looked at Marina. His expression was empty. He disappeared. People looked for him. Police, his family, private investigators. No one ever found him. Marina's stomach twisted. She knew what that meant, knew what Roman had done. Do you regret it? She asked. No. No hesitation. I regret that I couldn't bring Claire back, but I don't regret making sure he never hurt anyone else. That's not justice. No. It's revenge. Justice died with Claire. Roman turned to face Marina fully. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand who I am, what I'm capable of, what loving me would mean. Marina's breath caught. Who said anything about love? We did. The moment you got in my truck this morning knowing exactly what I am. He was right. Marina had known from the moment Roman choked that drunk man at Onyx, had known when he investigated her entire life, had known when he showed her his childhood home and his scars and the note from his dead mother. She'd known, and she'd stayed anyway. I'm engaged, she said weakly, to a man who screams at you for needing space. I'm supposed to get married in 3 weeks. Are you trying to convince me or yourself? Marina stood up, walked to the edge of the railing, stared out at Lake Michigan while snow melted on her face. Behind her, Roman stood. She could feel him there, not touching, not pushing, just waiting. What if I can't be what you need? Marina whispered. What if I'm exactly what you've been looking for? Marina turned around. Roman was standing 3 feet away, hands in his pockets, looking at her like she was the only thing keeping him alive. This is insane, she said. Probably. I don't even know you. You know me better than anyone has in 5 years. One day. I've known you one day. Some people spend their whole lives with the wrong person. We figured out we're right in 24 hours. Roman took a step closer. That terrify you? Yes. Good. Me too. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he touched her face. Just his fingertips against her cheek, where vitiligo had lightened her skin in patches. His touch was gentle, reverent. You're beautiful, he said quietly. Marina's eyes burned. Don't. Don't what? Don't say things you don't mean. I never say things I don't mean. Roman traced the pattern of white across her cheekbone. Your skin looks like constellations, like you're part of the sky. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. Adrian called her condition unfortunate. Her mother called it something to hide. Strangers called it nothing because they were too polite to mention it, but Roman looked at her vitiligo like it was art. Marina closed her eyes, felt Roman's hand move from her cheek to the back of her neck, felt him step closer until she could feel the heat of his body through their clothes. Marina, he whispered. She opened her eyes. Roman was looking at her like a man standing at the edge of a cliff, deciding whether to jump. If I kiss you, he said quietly, everything changes. I know. You'll have to choose, him or me, the life you've been living or the one you could have. I know. And I can't promise I'll make it easy. I can't promise I won't hurt you. I can't promise. Marina grabbed his sweater and pulled him down to her. The kiss was desperate, hungry, 5 years of loneliness crashing into a lifetime of pretending. Roman's hand tightened on the back of her neck and his other arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her against him like he was drowning and she was oxygen. Marina had been kissed before. Adrian kissed her like an obligation, like checking off a box, like making sure the merchandise still worked. Roman kissed her like his life depended on it. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. Snow had collected in Roman's hair. Marina's lips felt swollen. Come home with me, Roman said. Not a question, not quite a demand, somewhere in between. Marina knew what he was asking, knew what it meant, knew there was no going back from this moment. She thought about Adrian, about the wedding in 3 weeks, about the dress hanging in her closet and the invitations already mailed and the life she'd spent years building from obligation and fear. Then she looked at Roman, this dangerous, damaged man who'd shown her more truth in one day than she'd seen in 28 years. Yes, she whispered. Roman's expression broke open, just for a second. Then he was pulling her toward the truck, moving fast like he was afraid she'd change her mind. They drove back to his mansion in silence. The tension in the truck was thick enough to choke on. Every time Marina glanced at Roman, his hands were tight on the wheel, jaw clenched, breathing carefully controlled. He wanted her. She could feel it radiating off him like heat, and God help her, she wanted him back. They pulled into the garage. Roman killed the engine, but neither of them moved. Last chance, he said, voice rough. You can still walk away. I'll have my driver take you home. We'll pretend today never happened. Marina unbuckled her seatbelt and turned to face him. I don't want to pretend anymore. Roman's control snapped. He was out of the truck and pulling her door open before she could blink. His hands found her waist, lifting her out, pressing her back against the truck. His mouth found hers again, and this kiss was different, darker, deeper, full of promises that made Marina's knees weak. Inside, Roman growled against her lips. Now, before I take you right here. They made it through the garage, through the kitchen. Halfway up the stairs before Roman pushed Marina against the wall and kissed her like the world was ending. Marina's hands found his sweater, pulling it up. Roman helped her, yanking it over his head and tossing it somewhere neither of them cared about. Then his hands were on her, pulling her shirt off, mouth moving down her neck. Marina gasped. Her fingers traced the scars on his chest. Old knife wounds. Burn marks. The evidence of a violent life written across his skin. "You sure?" Roman asked, pulling back to look at her. His pupils were blown wide. "Marina, you need to be sure." In answer, Marina grabbed his belt. Roman's eyes went dark. He lifted her, her legs wrapping around his waist, and carried her the rest of the way up the stairs. His bedroom was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Chicago, king bed, dark sheets that probably cost more than Marina's entire wardrobe. Roman set her down on the edge of the bed and knelt in front of her. His hands were shaking. "I need to tell you something," he said. "What?" "I haven't been with anyone since Claire died." His voice was raw, honest. 5 years. I didn't want... Marina cupped his face. "Are you sure you want this?" Roman laughed, but it came out broken. "I've wanted you since I saw you sitting alone at that club pretending to be okay." He kissed her palm. "But I need you to understand, this isn't just sex for me. This is..." "I know," Marina interrupted. "Me too." Roman searched her eyes. Whatever he saw there made something in his expression crack wide open. He stood, pulling her up with him, and kissed her slowly, tenderly, like she was something precious instead of convenient. Then he laid her back on the bed and showed her what it felt like to be worshipped instead of tolerated. "Chumman." Marina woke up wrapped in Roman's arms while dawn bled across Chicago's skyline. She should feel guilty, should feel horrified at what she'd done, should be planning how to explain this to Adrian. Instead, she felt awake for the first time in years. Roman stirred behind her. His arm tightened around her waist. "You're thinking too loud," he murmured against her neck. "How do you know I'm thinking?" "Because I can feel you trying to decide whether to run." Marina rolled over to face him. Roman's hair was a mess. His eyes were tired but clear. He looked younger in the early light, less dangerous, more human. "I should go," she said. Roman's expression didn't change. "Should you?" "I have a wedding to cancel, a life to dismantle, a fiancé to..." Marina's throat closed. "This is insane. I've known you 36 hours. Feels longer. That doesn't make it less crazy." Roman traced patterns on her bare shoulder. "You want crazy? I'm in love with you." Marina's breath stopped. "What?" "I'm in love with you," Roman repeated. "Have been since you told off those drunk assholes at Onyx. Since you held that girl's hand at the shelter. Since you ate Sal's pasta like it was the best thing you'd ever tasted." He met her eyes. "I know it's too fast. I know I sound insane, but I spent 5 years dead and you made me want to live again. So yeah, I love you, and I'm not apologizing for it." Marina couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Nobody had ever said anything like that to her, with that much certainty, that much raw honesty. "I don't know if I love you," she whispered. "That's okay. I'll wait. I'm still engaged to someone else. For now." "Roman," he kissed her, soft and slow and achingly gentle. "I'm not asking you to decide right now," he said against her lips. "I'm just asking you not to run." Marina's phone started ringing somewhere in the room. She'd left it in her purse downstairs. They both ignored it. "What if I'm not brave enough?" Marina asked. "Then I'll be brave enough for both of us." The phone stopped ringing, started again. Roman sighed. "You should probably answer that." Marina didn't want to, wanted to stay in this bed forever. But the real world was calling, and eventually she'd have to face it. She climbed out of bed, pulling on Roman's shirt from the floor, went downstairs and dug her phone out of her purse. 27 missed calls. 15 from Adrian, 12 from her mother. 3 voicemails. Marina's hands shook as she pressed play on the first one. Adrian's voice. Drunk, furious. "You think you can just disappear? You think I won't find out what you're doing? Jessica told me everything, said you left with some guy, some rich asshole with a Bentley." A crash in the background. "I know who he is, Marina. Roman fucking Vane. Everyone in this city knows what he is. And you stupid..." Marina deleted it before he could finish. The second voicemail was her mother, cold, disappointed. "Adrian called me, says you've been ignoring him, Says you left your bachelorette party with a stranger. I raised you better than this, Marina. Call me immediately. We need to discuss your behavior before you humiliate this entire family. Delete. The third was Adrian again, but his voice was different this time, calculating. Listen, I know you're probably freaking out, cold feet, whatever. It happens. But we need to talk, face to face. I'm at the Drake, room 847. Come over. We'll fix this. I promise I'm not mad. Just come over, please. Marina stared at the phone. Please. Adrian never said please. Something was wrong. Roman appeared in the doorway wearing jeans and nothing else. Everything okay? Adrian wants to meet. Says he's not angry. Wants to talk. And you believe him? Marina looked at the phone, then at Roman, then back at the phone. No, she said quietly. But I have to face him eventually. Not alone, you don't. Roman, I'm coming with you. His voice left no room for argument. You want to end things with him? Fine. But I'm not letting you walk into a room with a man who thinks he owns you without backup. Marina wanted to argue, wanted to prove she could handle this herself, but the truth was she was terrified. Okay, she whispered. Roman disappeared upstairs. Came back 2 minutes later, fully dressed, phone in hand. Let's go end your engagement, he said. And Marina realized with perfect clarity that the point of no return wasn't last night in Roman's bed. It was right now. Walking out his front door, choosing him over the life she'd spent years building, choosing herself for the first time in her entire existence. She grabbed her coat and didn't look back. The Drake Hotel rose from Michigan Avenue like a monument to old money and older secrets. Marina had been here before. Adrian's family hosted their annual charity gala in the ballroom every December. She'd spent those nights smiling until her face hurt, while Adrian's mother criticized her dress and his father ignored her completely. Now she was walking through the marble lobby with Roman Vane at her side, and every head turned. People knew him. Marina could see it in how the concierge went pale, how the bellhop suddenly found something fascinating about his shoes, how the businessman waiting for the elevator took one look at Roman and decided the stairs were a better option. This was Roman's city. These people knew exactly what he was. Marina's phone buzzed. Text from Adrian. Where are you? I'm waiting, she typed back. On my way up. The elevator ride to the 8th floor felt like descending into deep water. Roman stood beside her, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. But Marina could feel the tension radiating off him like heat from asphalt in summer. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Yes, I do. He's going to try to manipulate you, make you feel guilty, tell you you're throwing away your future. Marina looked at Roman. What if he's right? Then you were never meant to have that future anyway. The elevator doors opened. Room 847 was at the end of a long hallway, carpeted in burgundy, thick enough to swallow sound. Marina's legs felt disconnected from her body. Each step took conscious effort. Roman walked slightly behind her, close enough to intervene, far enough to let her do this herself. Marina stopped in front of 847, raised her hand to knock. The door opened before her knuckles touched wood. Adrian stood there in expensive casual wear, designer jeans, cashmere sweater, hair perfectly styled despite the early hour. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread. Handsome, confident, completely in control. His eyes moved from Marina to Roman, and something cold slithered across his face. So it's true, Adrian said quietly. You really are fucking Roman Vane. Marina flinched. Can we talk inside? Why? So your boyfriend doesn't hear me call you a whore? Roman moved so fast, Marina almost missed it. 1 second he was behind her. The next he had Adrian pressed against the doorframe with one hand around his throat. Say that again, Roman said, voice flat and deadly calm. I want to make sure I heard you correctly before I break your jaw. Adrian's face went purple. His hands clawed at Roman's wrist but couldn't get purchase. Roman, stop! Marina grabbed his arm. Let him go. Roman held Adrian for another 3 seconds, long enough to make his point. Then he released him and stepped back. Adrian doubled over, coughing. When he straightened, his eyes were watering, but the cold calculation was back. Get inside, he rasped. Both of you, unless you want hotel security involved. The suite was enormous. Living room, separate bedroom, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan. There was an open bottle of scotch on the coffee table. 2 glasses. Only one looked used. Adrian had been waiting, planning. Marina's stomach twisted. "So," Adrian said, closing the door behind them, "how long has this been going on?" 2 days, Marina said. Adrian laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. 2 days. You've known this psychopath for 2 days, and you're ready to throw away 3 years? Those 3 years were a lie. Really? Because from where I'm standing, the only liar here is you. Adrian poured himself more scotch. Didn't offer any to Marina or Roman. You stood in front of my entire family and said yes when I proposed. You picked out a dress, sent invitations, took deposits from vendors. And now what? You meet some criminal with a bank account and suddenly I'm the bad guy? You never loved me, Marina said quietly. Love? Adrian's voice dripped contempt. Grow up, Marina. Love is for teenagers and romance novels. Marriage is a partnership, an arrangement. I offered you stability, security, a place in one of Chicago's most prominent families, and you were supposed to be grateful. There it is, Roman said from where he leaned against the wall. The truth, finally. Adrian turned on him. You don't get to talk. You don't get to stand there acting morally superior when everyone in this city knows what you are. How many people have you killed, Vane? How many bodies are buried because you decided the law didn't apply to you? Roman smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. More than you want to know about. And you think that makes you better than me? At least I'm honest about being a businessman. You're just a thug in an expensive suit. The difference, Roman said quietly, is I've never pretended to love someone while treating them like property. Adrian's hand tightened on his glass. For a second, Marina thought he'd throw it. Then he set it down carefully and turned back to Marina. Fine. You want to leave? Leave. But understand what you're walking away from. Adrian's voice dropped to something soft and dangerous. My father's lawyers will make sure you don't see a cent from the gifts you've already received. Every deposit you put down on this wedding, gone. The apartment we were supposed to move into? I'm keeping it. And that shelter you care so much about, the one my family donates $50,000 a year to? Consider that funding gone too. Marina's breath caught. You wouldn't. Try me. Adrian smiled. You want to play house with a criminal? Fine. But those women at Harbor are going to suffer for your choices. How many beds will they have to close? How many women will they have to turn away because you decided to spread your legs for... Roman moved again. This time Marina didn't try to stop him. The punch caught Adrian square in the jaw. He went down hard, crashing into the coffee table. Glass shattered, scotch splashed across expensive carpet. Roman stood over him, breathing hard. Get up. Adrian touched his face. His hand came away bloody. You just assaulted me. I'm pressing charges. Do it. Let's see how that plays out for you. Roman's voice was death-wrapped in calm. You think your father's lawyers scare me. I own half the judges in this city. The other half are too smart to take your case. Adrian laughed through blood. You think this is about court? You think I need the law to destroy you? He pulled himself to his feet, swaying slightly. I know things, Vane. I know where the bodies are buried. Literally. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Roman went very still. Explain. My father's been in real estate for 40 years. You think he doesn't know every dirty secret in this city? You think he hasn't kept records? Adrian wiped blood from his mouth. The Gianelli warehouse fire in 2019, the construction site collapse in Pilsen, that drunk driver who killed your fiancée and then mysteriously vanished. He smiled. I know about all of it, and if you don't back off, so will the FBI. Marina felt like the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. Adrian, what are you... Shut up. Adrian didn't even look at her. This is between me and him now. Roman's expression hadn't changed, but something in his eyes had gone dark and terrible. You're bluffing. Am I? Ask yourself if you want to take that chance. Adrian pulled out his phone. One call. That's all it takes. One call and the evidence goes to federal prosecutors who aren't on your payroll. If you had real evidence, you'd have used it already. Wrong. If I'd used it already, I wouldn't have leverage. Adrian's smile widened. Here's what's going to happen. Marina's going to leave with me. You're going to forget she exists, and in exchange, I'll forget everything I know about your extracurricular activities. Marina's voice came out small and broken. You're blackmailing him? I'm protecting what's mine. I'm not yours. I was never yours. Adrian finally looked at her. His expression was cold, calculating. You really think he loves you? You think this isn't just another transaction for him? He laughed. He's a sociopath, Marina. He doesn't love you. He loves what you represent, a chance to feel human again. But the second you become inconvenient, he'll throw you away like garbage. You're wrong, Marina said, but her voice shook. Am I? Adrian pulled something from his pocket, an envelope, thick, official-looking. Guess what I found yesterday? A $5 million check, made out to you, signed by Roman Vane. He held it up. Dated 2 days ago, the same day you met him, the same day you disappeared from your bachelorette party. Marina's blood turned to ice. He paid for you, Adrian said softly, like a whore. $5 million for 24 hours. And you were so desperate for someone to want you that you actually believed it was real. That's not... Marina turned to Roman. Tell him that's not what happened. Roman's expression was carefully blank. Marina, tell him. I offered you money, Roman said quietly. $5 million to spend Valentine's Day with me. You said yes. Those are facts. But it wasn't... We didn't... Marina couldn't breathe. You said you loved me. I do. You paid me like a prostitute. I paid you because I thought that was the only way you'd say yes. I thought... Roman stopped, started again. I thought if I offered you a way out, you'd take it. I thought the money would give you the freedom to leave him. So you bought me. Marina's voice cracked. You looked at my entire life and decided I was for sale. That's not what I... Then what? Marina was shaking now. What was it? Because from where I'm standing, Adrian's right. You paid for me. I slept with you. That makes me exactly what he said I am. Don't do this, Roman said. Don't let him twist this into something it's not. Adrian laughed. I'm not twisting anything. The check exists. The transaction happened. You want to pretend it was love? Fine. But we both know what it really was. Marina felt like she was drowning. Everything from the past 2 days was reframing itself. The mansion, the food, the tenderness, the confession of love, all of it bought and paid for. Did you cash it? She asked Adrian quietly. His smile faltered. What? The check. Did you cash it? Adrian's silence was answer enough. You did, Marina whispered. You found the check and you cashed it. You sold me. You took $5 million from him and you sold me like... She couldn't finish. I was protecting our financial interests, Adrian said. That money belongs to both of us. We're getting married. What's his is yours, and what's yours is... Marina slapped him. The sound cracked through the suite like a gunshot. Adrian's head snapped sideways. When he looked back at her, his eyes were blazing. You're going to regret that, he said softly. I regret ever meeting you. Marina's voice was steady now, cold. I regret saying yes when you proposed. I regret 3 years of letting you make me feel like I should be grateful you'd lower yourself to marry damaged goods. She pulled the engagement ring from her pocket. She'd forgotten she was still carrying it. Here, take it. I'm done. She threw the ring at him. It bounced off his chest and disappeared into the carpet. Adrian looked at the ring, then at Marina. Then he started laughing. You think you can just walk away? You think there aren't consequences? He pulled out his phone. One call. That's all it takes. One call and your boyfriend goes to prison. One call and everything he's built crumbles. One call and... Roman moved across the room in 3 strides and ripped the phone from Adrian's hand. He looked at the screen for exactly 2 seconds. Then he threw it against the wall hard enough to shatter it into pieces. Make your call, Roman said quietly. Adrian went pale. You're insane. Probably. But I'm done pretending to be afraid of men like you. Roman took a step closer. Adrian backed up until he hit the window. Here's what's actually going to happen. You're going to walk away. You're going to tell everyone the wedding's off. You're going to return every gift, eat every deposit, and you're never going to speak Marina's name again. Or what? Or I'll show you what real consequences look like. You're threatening me? In front of a witness? Roman glanced at Marina. You hear me threaten him? Marina's mind was spinning, but she heard herself say, "No." Adrian's eyes went wide. "You're both insane. You deserve each other." "Probably," Roman agreed, "but at least we're honest about it." He turned to walk away. Marina started to follow. "Wait," Adrian said. They both stopped. Adrian was smiling again, but this smile was different, victorious. "You think I only have one copy? You think I'd come here without insurance?" He laughed. "My father has everything, every document, every photo, every witness statement. And if anything happens to me, if I disappear, if I die, if I so much as stub my toe, it all goes to the FBI. Every single piece." Roman froze. "That's right," Adrian said. "You can't touch me. You can't make me disappear like you did to Claire's killer, because if you do, you're finished. And Marina..." He looked at her with something that might have been pity. "When he goes down, you'll go down with him. Accessory after the fact, obstruction, maybe even conspiracy. Hope those 2 days were worth destroying your entire life." Marina couldn't breathe. The walls were closing in. Everything was falling apart. Roman turned slowly. His expression was utterly calm. Too calm. "You're smarter than I gave you credit for," he said. Adrian's smile widened. "Finally some respect." "That wasn't a compliment." Roman pulled out his own phone. "The problem with insurance policies is they only work if the other person doesn't have one." He pressed a button, put the phone on speaker. A voice answered immediately. "It's done." "Confirm," Roman said. "Martin Mercer, arrested 20 minutes ago. Federal charges, wire fraud, tax evasion, money laundering. He's in FBI custody right now." The color drained from Adrian's face. "You're lying. RICO charges too," the voice continued. "Whole organization's going down. Mercer Hotels, Mercer Development, all of it. Assets frozen, accounts seized. Your father's looking at 25 to life." Adrian grabbed for the hotel phone, dialed frantically, waited. No one answered. "How?" He looked at Roman with pure horror. "How did You think your father's the only one who keeps records?" Roman's voice was soft, deadly. "I've had evidence on Martin Mercer for 3 years. Just been waiting for a reason to use it." "You set this up," Adrian whispered. "You planned this whole thing." "No. I fell in love with Marina. You threatening me just gave me an excuse to do what I should have done years ago." Roman slipped his phone back in his pocket. "Your father's been extorting business owners in Pilsen for a decade, forcing them to sell property below market value, using zoning violations to shut down anyone who refused. He's a criminal, Adrian, just better dressed than most." "You can't prove..." "I can. I did. And now every prosecutor in Chicago has enough evidence to put him away forever." Roman moved toward the door. "So here's your new reality. Your father's going to prison. Your family's fortune is gone, and you have exactly zero leverage over me or Marina." Adrian looked like he'd been gutted. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is." Roman opened the door. "Marina, let's go." Marina stood frozen. Her mind was trying to process what just happened. Roman had just destroyed Adrian's entire family. Hadn't hesitated. Hadn't shown mercy. He'd done it for her. Or had he? "Marina," Roman said again. She looked at him. This man who'd paid $5 million for her company, who'd made her feel things she'd never felt before, who'd just annihilated someone's life with a phone call. "Did you plan this?" she asked quietly. "Did you know who I was before we met? Did you approach me at Onyx because you knew I was engaged to Adrian?" Roman's expression flickered. "Marina, answer the question." Silence stretched between them. Heavy, suffocating. "I knew who you were," Roman finally said. "I knew you were engaged to Martin Mercer's son. I knew Adrian was a piece of shit. I knew..." He stopped. "I knew a lot of things before I talked to you." Marina's stomach turned to ice. "So this was what? Revenge? Getting back at the Mercer family by stealing Adrian's fiancé?" "No." "Then what?" "I saw you sitting alone and I thought..." Roman's voice cracked. "I thought maybe you were like me. Trapped. Drowning. Pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. And I just wanted to save me." Marina laughed, but it came out broken. "Or to use me." "Neither. Both." "I don't know." Roman ran his hand through his hair. All I know is the moment I started talking to you, everything else stopped mattering. Adrian, his father, the leverage, none of it mattered because you were real. You were honest. You were a transaction, Marina finished. You said it yourself. $5 million, 24 hours, no strings. Except there were strings. There were always strings. That's not fair. Fair? Marina's voice rose. You investigated my entire life. You knew my weaknesses. You knew exactly what buttons to push. You showed me your childhood home and your dead mother's note and fed me in your kitchen and made me think. Her voice broke. You made me think someone finally saw me. I do see you. You see what you wanted to see. A broken woman desperate enough to believe a fairy tale. Marina backed toward the door. Adrian was right. You don't love me. You love what I represent. A chance to feel human. A way to hurt the Mercer family, whatever. But it was never real. Marina, don't do this. Don't do what? Don't walk away from another man who lied to me? Don't protect myself for once in my pathetic life? If you walk out that door right now, you're walking back into nothing. No Adrian, no wedding, no plan. Just you and whatever life you can scrape together. Marina met his eyes. Then that's what I'll do. Because at least it'll be mine. She walked out. Roman didn't follow. Marina made it to the elevator before her legs gave out. She collapsed against the wall, sliding down until she was sitting on the burgundy carpet, shaking so hard her teeth rattled. Everything was gone. Her fiancé, her future, her illusions. And Roman. God, Roman. She'd let herself believe, let herself hope. Let herself fall in love with someone just as broken and dangerous as she'd feared. The elevator dinged, the doors opened. Marina's mother stepped out. For a second, they just stared at each other. Then her mother's expression hardened into something cold and disappointed and achingly familiar. I knew you'd ruin this, her mother said. I knew the moment you were born with that skin condition that you'd find a way to destroy every good thing that ever happened to you. Marina couldn't speak, couldn't move, could barely breathe. Adrian called me, her mother continued, told me everything, how you've been sleeping with some criminal, how you threw away a man who was willing to overlook your flaws, how you've humiliated this entire family. I didn't. Don't. Her mother held up a hand. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear about how you were unhappy or confused or whatever story you've convinced yourself is true. All I want to know is what you're going to do to fix this. Marina stared at her mother, at this woman who'd spent 28 years teaching Marina that love meant hiding herself, that gratitude meant accepting crumbs, that her vitiligo made her damaged goods no decent man would want without extensive convincing. And something inside Marina finally snapped. I'm not fixing anything, she said quietly. Her mother blinked. What? You heard me. Marina pushed herself to her feet. Her legs were shaking, but she stayed upright. I'm not apologizing. I'm not begging Adrian to take me back. I'm not spending the rest of my life being grateful someone was willing to tolerate me. Marina, you're being hysterical. No, I'm being honest for the first time in my life. Marina's voice was steady now, strong. You taught me to hate myself. You taught me my skin made me worthless. You taught me to accept whatever scraps of affection men were willing to throw my way. And I believed you. For 28 years I believed you. Her mother's face went white. How dare you? But I'm done now. Marina moved toward the elevator. I'm done pretending. I'm done shrinking myself. I'm done letting you make me feel like I should be grateful anyone wants me. If you walk away from Adrian, you'll have nothing. No money, no prospects, no future. Then I'll build one myself. On what? Your salary from that shelter? You can barely afford rent. Marina stopped, turned back. I have $5 million. Her mother went very still. What? Roman Vane paid me $5 million to spend Valentine's Day with him. Adrian found the check and cashed it. So technically half of it's in Adrian's account. But I'm going to get it back, all of it, and I'm going to use it to fund Harbor for the next decade. Her mother's expression cycled through shock, horror, and finally disgust. You sold yourself. No, Adrian sold me. I just happened to benefit from the transaction. You're a prostitute. The word hung in the air between them. Marina felt it land, felt the weight of it, the shame her mother intended, and then she let it go. If that's what you want to believe, Marina said quietly, then believe it. But I know the truth. I know the difference between being sold and choosing to leave, and for the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself. She stepped into the elevator. Her mother didn't follow, just stood there in the hallway looking at her daughter like she was a stranger. The doors started to close. I never want to see you again, her mother said. Marina met her eyes. Good. That makes two of us. The doors closed. Marina rode down to the lobby alone, watching the numbers descend like a countdown to something she couldn't name. When the elevator opened, Roman was standing there. He looked wrecked, hair a mess, expression raw, like he'd run down 8 flights of stairs trying to catch her before she disappeared. I'm sorry, he said, for everything, for investigating you, for offering you money, for not being honest about why I approached you in the first place, for, his voice cracked, for making you think any of it was transactional, when the truth is, I haven't felt anything real since Claire died, and you, God, Marina, you made me want to live again. Marina's eyes burned. I can't do this right now. I know. I needed you to know. The money wasn't payment, it was freedom. I was trying to give you a way out of a life that was killing you. And if I did it wrong, if I made you feel bought instead of valued, I'm sorry. I'm so goddamn sorry. My mother just disowned me, Marina said. Adrian's family is destroyed. I have no apartment, no wedding, no plan, and $5 million that may or may not be legally mine, depending on whether a check made out to me but cashed by my ex-fiancé counts as my property. Roman absorbed that. What do you need? I don't know. Then let me help you figure it out. Marina laughed. It came out brittle and broken. You've helped enough. Marina, no. She held up a hand. I need space. I need time. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not being molded by other people's expectations. And I can't do that with you standing there looking at me like I'm the only thing keeping you alive. Roman's expression cracked, but he nodded. Okay. Okay? You need space. I'll give you space. He pulled out his phone, typed something. Marina's phone buzzed. That's my lawyer's number. She'll help you with the money. Get it out of Adrian's account. Put it somewhere he can't touch it. Use it however you want. Roman. And this? He typed again. Another buzz. That's the deed to my mother's house in Oak Park. It's yours now. Free and clear. No mortgage, no strings. Just a place to live until you figure out what comes next. Marina stared at her phone. I can't accept that. You can. You will. Roman stepped back, put distance between them, even though it clearly hurt. I meant what I said. I love you. And maybe that's insane after 2 days. Maybe it makes me pathetic. But it's true. And if you need time to figure out whether you can love me back, I'll wait. However long it takes. What if I never figure it out? Then at least you'll have a house and $5 million. Roman smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Not a bad safety net. He turned to walk away. Roman. He stopped but didn't turn around. Thank you, Marina whispered, for destroying Adrian's family, for giving me a way out, for... Her voice broke. For seeing me. Roman looked back over his shoulder. His eyes were wet. You were always worth seeing, he said quietly. Then he walked out of the hotel and disappeared into Chicago's February cold. Marina stood alone in the lobby while people rushed past on their way to Valentine's Day brunches and romantic getaways and lives that made sense. Her phone buzzed again. Text from an unknown number. This is Sarah Kim, Roman's attorney. He briefed me on your situation. When you're ready to discuss the financial assets, call this number. No rush, no pressure, just options when you need them. Followed by another text. Also, for what it's worth, in 15 years of knowing Roman Vane, I've never seen him care about anyone the way he cares about you. Whatever happened between you two, that part was real. S.K. Marina looked at the messages for a long time. Then she walked outside into the snow that had started falling again. She had no coat, no plan, no idea where she was going. But for the first time in her entire life, Marina Vale was free. And that terrified her more than anything else ever had. Marina walked through Chicago's snow-covered streets for 3 hours before her fingers went numb. She had no destination, no plan, just one foot in front of the other while the city moved around her like she was invisible. People rushed past carrying flowers and chocolates and heart-shaped balloons. Valentine's Day couples holding hands and laughing about reservations and weekend getaways. Marina felt like a ghost. Her phone kept buzzing. She ignored it. Didn't matter who was calling, didn't matter what they wanted. Nothing mattered except the sound of her own breathing and the crunch of snow under her shoes. She ended up at Harbor. The shelter looked the same as it always did. Brick facade weathered by decades of Chicago winters. Barred windows, metal door with a buzzer that screamed when you pushed it too long. Home to women who'd run out of options. Marina stood across the street staring at it. 40 hours a week for 4 years she'd walked through that door. Held hands with women whose faces looked like roadmaps of violence. Listened to stories that carved pieces out of her soul. Told 16-year-olds with finger-shaped bruises on their throats that they were safe now. Lied through her teeth because safe was temporary and monsters were patient. The door opened. Deborah stepped out carrying trash bags toward the dumpster. She saw Marina across the street and stopped. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Deborah dropped the bags and crossed the street. "Jesus Christ, you're freezing!" Deborah pulled off her own coat and wrapped it around Marina's shoulders. "How long have you been standing here?" "I don't know." "Come inside. You look like you're about to collapse." Marina let herself be led across the street and through the metal door into Harbor's cramped reception area. The heat hit her like a physical blow. Her fingers started burning as feeling returned. Deborah sat her down in the battered office chair and disappeared. Came back with coffee so strong it could strip paint. "Drink," Deborah ordered. Marina wrapped both hands around the mug and drank. The coffee scorched her throat. Tasted like burnt dirt and salvation. Deborah perched on the edge of the desk and studied Marina with the same expression she used when evaluating new arrivals. Checking for injuries, calculating trauma, deciding how bad things were. "You want to tell me what happened?" Deborah asked quietly. Marina laughed. "It came out wrong." "Where do I start? I left my fiancé, slept with a criminal, got disowned by my mother, and discovered I'm apparently worth $5 million on the open market." Deborah absorbed that without blinking. "The guy from yesterday, Roman." "Yeah. He hurt you?" "No, yes. I don't know." Marina set the coffee down before she dropped it. "He paid me, Deborah, $5 million to spend Valentine's Day with him. And I took it. I actually took it and convinced myself it was something else." "What did you think it was?" "Love." The word tasted like ash. "I thought he loved me. Thought I loved him. But it was a transaction. Everything's always a goddamn transaction." Deborah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You know what the women here tell me when they first arrive? They say the same thing. I thought he loved me. Every single one. And you know what I tell them?" Marina shook her head. "I tell them love is a verb, not a feeling, not a transaction. A choice you make every day to value someone's humanity over your own comfort." Deborah leaned forward. "So the question isn't whether Roman Vane paid you $5 million. The question is, did he choose you? Did he see you as human? Did he value you over his own comfort?" Marina thought about Roman showing her his childhood home, cooking for her at midnight, destroying Adrian's family with a single phone call, walking away when she asked for space even though it clearly gutted him. "I don't know," she whispered. "Then maybe you should find out before you decide what that money means." Marina's phone buzzed again. She finally looked at it. 17 missed calls, 3 from Jessica, 2 from other bridesmaids, 1 from the wedding planner, 11 from Adrian, and 15 text messages that got progressively more unhinged. "You ruined everything. My father's in custody because of you. My mother won't stop crying. The press is outside our house. This is your fault. You and that psychopath destroyed my family. I'm going to make you pay for this. I swear to God, Marina, you're going to regret this." Followed by 3 messages from an unknown number. "This is Sarah Kim. We need to talk. Call me ASAP. Marina, this is urgent. Adrian's attorneys are filing an emergency injunction to freeze the accounts where your money was deposited. If you don't respond in the next 2 hours, you're going to lose everything. Call me." Marina stared at the messages. Her hand started shaking. "What is it?" Deborah asked. "Adrian's trying to take the money. All of it." Marina's voice came out flat, distant. "He cashed the check, put it in his account, and now he's trying to make sure I can't touch it. Can he do that?" I don't know, maybe. His family has lawyers who've been making impossible things happen for decades. Marina stood up. Her legs felt disconnected from her body. I need to go. Where? To get what's mine. She called Sarah Kim's number while walking out of Harbor. The attorney answered on the first ring. Finally, where are you? Downtown, near the shelter. Stay there, I'm sending a car. Sarah's voice was clipped, professional. We have maybe 90 minutes before the injunction hearing. Adrian's lawyers are arguing that the money was a joint asset because you were engaged at the time of the transaction. It's bullshit, but the judge is Arnold Finch and he golfs with Martin Mercer every weekend. So we're screwed. Not necessarily, but I need you to sign some documents and we need to move fast. A pause. And Marina? Roman can't be involved in this. If he shows up at that courthouse, Adrian's lawyers will argue intimidation and we'll lose before we start. Where's Roman? I don't know. He's not answering his phone. Sarah sounded worried. Which concerns me because Roman always answers his phone. A black Mercedes pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down. Sarah Kim sat in the back seat looking like she'd been up all night. Dark suit, perfect hair, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. Marina climbed in. Talk to me about leverage, Sarah said as the car pulled into traffic. What do you have on Adrian that we can use? Nothing. He's the one with leverage. Everyone has something. Think. 3 years of engagement. You must know where the bodies are buried. Marina thought about 3 years of Adrian treating her like property. 3 years of casual cruelty disguised as concern. 3 years of... His father, Marina said suddenly. What about him? Adrian used to brag about it. When he was drunk, how his father would make deals happen. How people who refused to sell their property would suddenly face code violations or tax audits or mysterious accidents. Marina leaned forward. He kept a notebook. Adrian did. Everything his father told him, every dirty trick, every payoff. He called it his insurance policy in case his father ever tried to cut him off. Sarah's expression went very still. Where's the notebook? His apartment, hidden in... Marina stopped. Wait, if we use that, we're confirming everything Roman already gave the FBI. We're making it worse for them. They're already destroyed, Marina. Martin Mercer is going to prison. The question is whether you're going down with them or walking away with what's yours. That's not... I can't. Yes, you can. Sarah's voice was hard. You want to be noble? Fine. Give the money to Harbor. Fund the shelter for the next decade. But first you have to actually get the money. And right now, Adrian's lawyers are betting you're too soft to fight dirty. Marina thought about the women at Harbor. Thought about Sophie with her finger-shaped bruises. Thought about 40 hours a week of holding hands with women who'd been broken by men who thought they owned them. The notebook's in his bedroom closet, Marina said. Behind the shoe rack. There's a false panel. Sarah smiled. It wasn't friendly. Perfect. The car drove them to Adrian's building. High-rise in River North. Doorman, marble lobby, everything expensive and cold. Marina had her key. Adrian had never asked for it back. They rode the elevator to the 15th floor in silence. Marina's heart was hammering so hard she could hear it in her ears. The apartment smelled like Adrian. Expensive cologne and fresh coffee and the faint chemical scent of dry cleaning. Evidence that he'd been here this morning. Evidence that life continued even when everything fell apart. Bedroom, Sarah said. Marina led her through the apartment. Past the kitchen where she'd cooked dinner 1,000 times while Adrian worked on his laptop and ignored her. Past the living room where they'd watched movies with his friends who treated Marina like furniture. Past the guest room where she'd slept most nights because Adrian said her breathing kept him awake. Into the master bedroom. Adrian's clothes were scattered everywhere. He'd left in a hurry. Hadn't bothered to pick up. Marina went to the closet, found the shoe rack, pulled it away from the wall. The false panel was exactly where she remembered. Inside was a black notebook, leather-bound, expensive. Sarah took it, flipped through pages. Her expression stayed neutral, but her eyes got sharper with every page. This is gold, she said quietly. This is enough to... She stopped. Marina, if we use this, Adrian goes to prison. Not just his father, him. Everything in here is detailed enough to prove he knew about the criminal activity and benefited from it. Conspiracy, racketeering, the whole thing. Marina stared at the notebook. Thought about Adrian screaming at her on the phone. Thought about him cashing her check. Thought about him threatening to destroy Roman. Thought about him calling her a whore. Use it, she said. They were walking back to the elevator when Adrian stepped out of it. He stopped. They stopped. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Adrian looked worse than Marina had ever seen him. Hair unwashed, shirt wrinkled, eyes red from crying or drinking or both. He stared at the notebook in Sarah's hands. No, he said. It's over, Adrian. Sarah's voice was professional, cold. You tried to steal from my client. You tried to use the court system to... That's mine! Adrian lunged forward. Sarah stepped back. Marina stepped between them. Don't, she said. Adrian looked at her. For a second, she saw something in his eyes that might have been real emotion. Pain, fear. The realization that everything he'd built his life on was crumbling. Then it hardened into rage. You're destroying my family, he said quietly. Your family destroyed itself. My father's going to prison because of you. Your father's going to prison because he's a criminal. And so are you. Marina held up the notebook. Everything in here, every payoff, every threat, every illegal deal, you knew about all of it. You participated in it. You profited from it. I was protecting my family. No, you were protecting yourself. You were making sure you'd always have leverage, always have power, always have a way to make people do what you wanted. Marina's voice was steady, hard, like you tried to do with me. Adrian's hands curled into fists. I loved you. You loved what I represented. A wife who wouldn't embarrass you. A woman grateful enough to overlook how you treated her. Someone you could control. That's not true. Then why did you cash my check? Why did you take $5 million that belonged to me and put it in your account? Why didn't you ask if I was okay before you started screaming about how I made you look bad? Adrian's jaw worked. That money was payment for making you a whore. Sarah moved so fast Marina almost missed it. 1 second she was standing beside Marina. The next she had her phone out recording. Say that again, Sarah said quietly. Adrian went pale. I didn't... You just called Marina a whore on camera, in front of a witness, while holding her property hostage in your bank account. Sarah smiled. That's defamation, extortion, and really, really stupid. You can't use that. I can. I will. And by the time I'm done, you're going to wish you'd just given Marina her money and walked away. Sarah lowered the phone. Here's what happens now. You transfer every cent of that $5 million to Marina's account. Today, within the next hour. And in exchange, we won't share this notebook with federal prosecutors. That's blackmail. That's negotiation. You have 60 minutes. After that, this notebook goes to the FBI and you can explain to a jury why you have detailed records of your father's criminal enterprise. Adrian looked between them. His expression cycled through rage, fear, calculation. I want immunity, he said. For what? Everything in that notebook. I want full immunity from prosecution in exchange for testimony against my father. Sarah considered that. I'll make the call, but the money transfers first. How do I know you'll actually get me immunity? You don't, but you know for certain what happens if you don't transfer the money. Sarah checked her watch. 59 minutes. Adrian pulled out his phone. His hands were shaking. He pulled up his banking app, typed Marina's account information that he'd memorized from the engagement paperwork when they'd been planning to combine finances. Marina watched the numbers change on her own phone. $5 million appearing in her account like magic. Like freedom. Done, Adrian said. His voice was dead. It's done. Good. Sarah slipped the notebook into her bag. My office will be in touch about the immunity agreement. Don't leave Chicago. Don't talk to anyone. Don't do anything stupid. More stupid than I've already done? Much more stupid than you've already done. They walked to the elevator. Adrian didn't follow. Just stood there in the hallway of his building, looking like a man watching his entire world collapse. In the elevator, Marina's legs gave out. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. You okay? Sarah asked. I just destroyed the man I was supposed to marry. You defended yourself against the man who tried to steal from you. Sarah looked at her phone. And based on what's in this notebook, you probably saved a lot of people from getting hurt by the Mercer family's business practices. That doesn't make me feel better. Give it time. They drove to Sarah's office. A glass tower downtown with views of Lake Michigan and furniture that cost more than Marina's car. Sarah sat Marina down in a conference room and spent the next hour making phone calls while Marina stared at her bank balance. $5 million. More money than Marina had ever seen in her life. More money than she'd earned in 50 years at Harbor. More money than she knew what to do with. Blood money. That's what it was. Payment for destroying a family. Payment for sleeping with Roman Vane. Payment for being stupid enough to believe 2 days could change everything. Sarah hung up her phone. It's done. Adrian gets immunity in exchange for testimony. The money's clean. It's yours. What do I do with it? Whatever you want. But if I were you, I'd disappear for a while. Adrian's going to be angry when he realizes we used him. His mother's going to be vindictive, and the press is going to eat this story alive. Sarah handed Marina a business card. That's my personal cell. You need anything, you call. Doesn't matter what time. Marina took the card. Where's Roman? Sarah's expression shuddered. I don't know. You're lying. I'm protecting my client. From what? From making this worse than it already is. Sarah leaned forward. Marina, Roman Vane is in love with you. I've known him 15 years and I've never seen him care about anyone the way he cares about you. But Roman's also dangerous. He's violent. He's capable of things that would give you nightmares. And right now he's spiraling because he thinks he lost you. Where is he? Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled up something on her phone and showed Marina. Security camera footage. Black and white. Time-stamped from 2 hours ago. Roman standing outside Harbor Women's Shelter in the snow. Hands in his pockets, just standing there, staring at the building like he was memorizing it. He's been there for 4 hours, Sarah said quietly. Just watching, waiting. I think he's trying to make sure you're safe without actually approaching you. Marina's chest tightened. That's obsessive, disturbing, yeah. But that's Roman. When he loves someone, he doesn't do it halfway. He rebuilds his entire world around them, and when he loses them... Sarah stopped. After Claire died, he spent a year trying to drink himself to death. I had to physically drag him out of that house in Oak Park before he succeeded. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to know what you're dealing with. You need to understand that if you go back to him, you're not just getting a boyfriend. You're getting someone who will burn the entire city down to keep you safe. Someone who will destroy anyone who hurts you. Someone who will never, ever let you go. That sounds like a threat. It's a warning. Sarah closed her phone. Roman's not a safe choice, Marina. He's not going to give you a normal life. But he will give you an honest one. And in this city, that might be worth more than safety. Marina stood. Her whole body felt heavy. I need to think. Take all the time you need. But if you're going to walk away from him, do it clean. Don't string him along. Don't give him hope and then disappear. It'll break him. And a broken Roman Vane is dangerous for everyone. Marina left the office and walked out into the late afternoon cold. The sun was setting. Valentine's Day almost over. In a few hours, it would be February 15th and everything would go back to normal. Except nothing was normal anymore. Marina pulled out her phone, looked at her contact list, looked at Roman's number that she'd saved 2 days ago when this whole thing started. She should call him, should tell him it was over, should walk away clean like Sarah said. Instead, she opened a rideshare app and requested a car. The driver took her to Oak Park, to the house with the for sale sign, to the place where Roman grew up and his mother died and everything started falling apart. The key Roman's lawyer had sent her worked. The door opened. Inside was exactly as they'd left it yesterday. Dust, covered furniture, boxes stacked in corners. But now there was something new. Fresh flowers on the kitchen counter, tulips, white ones that matched the vitiligo on Marina's skin. And a note. Marina picked it up with shaking hands. This house is yours. No strings, no expectations. Just a place to be safe while you figure out what comes next. I know I said I'd wait, but I also know waiting might hurt you more than letting go. So if you need me to disappear, I will. If you need me to fight for you, I will. If you need me to love you from a distance, I'll do that too. Whatever you need, I'm yours. R. Marina read the note 3 times. Then she sat down at the kitchen table where Roman's mother had written a grocery list 8 years ago and cried until she couldn't breathe. When she finally stopped, The sun had set completely. Chicago was dark outside the windows. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Marina answered. Hello? Is this Marina Vale? A woman's voice. Young, scared. Yes, who is this? My name's Sophie, from Harbor. Deborah gave me your number. She said... The girl's voice cracked. She said you might be able to help. Marina sat up straight. What happened? My boyfriend found out where I was. He's outside the shelter right now. He has a gun. He says if I don't come out, he's going to... Sophie was crying. Please. I don't know what to do. Marina was already moving. Did someone call the police? Deborah did. They said they're coming, but it's Valentine's Day and they're swamped and... I'm 10 minutes away. Stay inside. Lock the doors. Don't let him see you. He's going to kill someone. No, he's not. Marina's voice was hard, certain. I'm not going to let that happen. She hung up and ran to her car. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely get the key in the ignition. She called Roman. No answer. She called again. Nothing. She called Sarah. I need Roman's location. Now. Marina, I told you. Sophie's boyfriend is outside Harbor with a gun. Police are coming, but they're slow and that girl is going to die if someone doesn't do something right now. Silence on the other end. Then Sarah said, I'll send you his location. But Marina, be careful. Roman's not... He's not in a good place right now. Marina's phone buzzed. Location pin. An address in Pilsen. She drove through Chicago like the devil was chasing her. Ran every red light. Nearly hit 3 cars. Didn't care. Roman's location was a warehouse. Old. Abandoned. The kind of place people disappeared. Marina parked and ran inside. The warehouse was dark. Empty. Smelled like rust and old violence. Roman! Her voice echoed off concrete walls. No answer. She pulled out her phone, used the flashlight, moved deeper into the building. She found him in what used to be an office, sitting on the floor with his back against the wall. Bottle of whiskey beside him, gun on the other side. He looked up when Marina's light hit his face. His eyes were empty. You shouldn't be here, he said. Sophie's in trouble. Her boyfriend's outside Harbor with a gun. I need your help. Roman didn't move. Call the police. I did. They're coming, but it might be too late. Marina knelt in front of him. Roman, I need you. No, you don't. You need someone who's not... He gestured vaguely at himself. This. I need you, Marina repeated. Right now. That girl needs you, please. Roman looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at the gun. If I do this, he said quietly, I'm going to kill him. You understand that? If he's outside that shelter with a gun threatening women, I'm going to put him down like a dog. I don't care. You should care. You should care that the man you might love is capable of murder without hesitation. The man I might love is capable of protecting people who can't protect themselves. Marina grabbed his hand. So get up. Help me. And we'll figure out the rest later. Roman stared at their joined hands. Then he stood, picked up the gun, checked the magazine. Let's go save your girl, he said. They took Roman's truck, drove through Chicago in silence while Marina's heart tried to hammer its way out of her chest. I'm sorry, Roman said quietly. For what? For making you think you weren't worth $5 million without the transaction. For investigating you. For... He stopped. For everything. Shut up and drive. Marina, I said shut up. Her voice cracked. We're about to walk into a situation where someone might die. You want to have this conversation? Fine, but not now. Not when... Roman's phone rang. Sarah. He answered on speaker. Talk to me. Police are on scene at Harbor, but the boyfriend's barricaded himself in the front entrance. He's got Sophie. He's threatening to shoot her if they come closer. Marina couldn't breathe. Roman's expression went cold and hard and absolutely certain. We're 3 minutes out. Roman, don't do anything stupid. I never do. He hung up. 2 minutes later, they pulled up 3 blocks from Harbor. Police cars everywhere, lights flashing, officers behind vehicles with weapons drawn. Roman parked, got out, started walking toward the scene with the gun tucked into the back of his jeans. Marina grabbed his arm. What's your plan? Don't have one. Just going to end this. Roman? He looked at her, and in his eyes, Marina saw the same thing she'd seen when he choked that drunk man at Onyx. when he destroyed Adrian's family, when he stood over Claire's killer and made him disappear. Violence. Patient and certain and absolutely without mercy. "Stay here," Roman said. Then he walked toward the shelter like he was walking toward his own execution. Marina stood frozen for exactly 3 seconds. Then she followed, because whatever happened next, they were facing it together. And maybe that's what love actually was. Not safety, not certainty. Just two broken people choosing each other even when the world was burning down around them. Roman reached the police barricade. A cop tried to stop him. "Sir, you need to—" Roman showed him something. Marina couldn't see what. But the cop's eyes went wide and he stepped aside. Roman kept walking, straight toward the shelter entrance where a kid who looked barely 20 stood holding a gun to Sophie's head while she cried and police shouted, and the entire situation spiraled toward something nobody could stop. Marina's phone buzzed. Text from Roman. "Whatever happens next, know that I love you. And I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to just say that from the beginning." Our Marina started running. "Roman, wait!" But he was already crossing the no man's land between the police and the kid with the gun. Already choosing violence over negotiation. Already becoming the monster he'd spent 5 years trying to bury. And Marina realized with perfect, terrifying clarity that the only way to save him was to— Marina ran. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. Police were shouting at her to get back, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Roman was 20 feet from the shelter entrance. The kid with the gun saw him coming and pressed the barrel harder against Sophie's temple. The girl's eyes were squeezed shut, tears streaming down her face. "Stay back!" the kid screamed. His voice cracked. He couldn't have been more than 19. "I'll fucking do it. I swear to God, I'll—" "No, you won't," Roman said. His voice was calm, too calm. The voice of someone who'd made peace with violence a long time ago. He kept walking. "I said stay back." "Her name's Sophie." Roman stopped 10 feet away, hands visible, no weapon drawn. "She's 16 years old, works part-time at a coffee shop on Clark Street, wants to be a teacher someday. You really want her death on your conscience?" The kid's hands were shaking. "She's mine. She doesn't get to just leave me. She's not yours. She never was." Roman took another step. "And you know it. That's why you're here. Because you already lost her, and you can't stand it. Shut up. Put the gun down. Walk away. You're young enough to survive this. Make different choices. Be someone else. You don't know anything about me. I know you're terrified. I know that gun feels like the only power you have left. I know you think if you can't have her, nobody should." Roman's voice dropped. "I know, because I've been exactly where you are, standing in the wreckage of something I destroyed, holding a gun, wondering if pulling the trigger would hurt less than living with what I'd become." The kid's eyes flickered, confused. "What?" "I lost someone too," Roman said quietly. "Someone I loved more than my own life. And when she died, I wanted to burn the whole world down, wanted to make everyone hurt the way I was hurting, so I understand what you're feeling right now." "You don't understand shit." "Then prove me wrong. Let her go. Show me you're better than the monster grief tried to turn you into." For a second, the kid's grip loosened, just a fraction. Sophie felt it and tried to pull away. The kid panicked. His finger tightened on the trigger. Marina didn't think, just moved. She crashed into Roman from the side, knocking him sideways as the gun went off. The sound was deafening, absolute. The kind of sound that changes everything. Marina hit the ground hard, couldn't breathe, couldn't hear, couldn't— Roman was on top of her, covering her body with his. She could feel his heart hammering against her back. "Stay down," he growled. Everything happened fast after that. The kid stared at the gun in his hand like he couldn't believe what he'd done. Sophie broke free and ran. Police swarmed forward. The kid dropped the weapon and collapsed to his knees with his hands up, sobbing. Roman pulled Marina to her feet. His hands were shaking as he checked her for injuries. "Are you hurt?" "Marina, look at me. Are you hurt?" "I'm fine. Marina looked down. Blood on her shirt, spreading. Roman went white. "Oh God, no, 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 no." "It's not mine," Marina said. She grabbed his arm, found the wound, a graze across his bicep where the bullet had caught him. "Roman, it's you. You're bleeding." Roman looked at his arm like he'd forgotten he had one. "I'm fine." "You're shot." It's nothing, just a... His legs gave out. Marina caught him before he hit the pavement. Medic! I need a medic! Paramedics swarmed them. Someone was pressing gauze against Roman's arm. Someone else was checking Marina's vitals, even though she kept saying she was fine. Police were everywhere. Sophie was wrapped in a blanket being led to an ambulance. Deborah appeared out of nowhere and pulled Marina into a crushing hug. You stupid, brave, reckless girl, Deborah said. What the hell were you thinking? I wasn't, Marina admitted. I couldn't let him. I know. Deborah squeezed tighter. I know. They loaded Roman into an ambulance. Marina climbed in after him without asking permission. The paramedic tried to tell her there wasn't room, but one look at her face, and he shut up. Roman's eyes were closed. His face was pale. The wound wasn't life-threatening, but shock was setting in. Marina took his hand. Hey, stay with me. Roman's eyes opened, unfocused. Claire? Marina's chest cracked open. No, it's Marina. Marina. He said her name like a prayer. You're okay. Thank God. I thought, when the gun went off, I thought, yo, I'm fine. Hey, you're the one who got shot, you idiot. Better me than you. Roman tried to smile. Failed. Always better me than you. The ambulance screamed through Chicago's streets toward the nearest hospital. Marina held Roman's hand and watched his pulse jump on the monitor and tried not to think about how close they'd both come to dying. At the hospital, they took Roman into surgery to clean and close the wound. Marina sat in the waiting room with blood on her shirt and someone else's coffee going cold in her hands. Sarah Kim showed up 40 minutes later looking like she'd aged 10 years. He's going to be fine, Marina said before Sarah could ask. And you? I'm not the one who got shot. That's not what I meant. Sarah sat down beside her, handed her a clean shirt. Change. You look like you walked out of a crime scene. Marina looked down at the blood. Roman's blood. She went to the bathroom and changed. When she came back, Sarah had fresh coffee waiting. Adrian's in custody, Sarah said. FBI picked him up 2 hours ago. Turns out that immunity deal fell through when they found additional evidence he'd been actively participating in his father's schemes. He's looking at 10 to 15 years. Marina should have felt something. Victory, relief, anything. But all she felt was empty. What about the kid? She asked. The one at the shelter? Juvenile detention, psychiatric evaluation. He'll face charges, but given his age and the fact that no one died, he might actually get help instead of just punishment. Sarah paused. Sophie's okay. Shaken up, but okay. Deborah says she's asking about you. I should go see her. Later, after you deal with the man in surgery who just took a bullet because he couldn't stand the thought of you getting hurt. Marina closed her eyes. I don't know what to do, Sarah. About Roman? About everything. 2 days ago, my life made sense. I had a plan, a future. It was awful, but at least I knew what I was waking up to every morning. Marina opened her eyes. Now I have $5 million, a house I never asked for, and a man who loves me so much he walked into gunfire without hesitating, and I have no idea what to do with any of it. So, figure it out. You've got time. Do I? Because it feels like everything's moving so fast I can't catch my breath. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Can I tell you something my mother told me when I was drowning in law school? Sure. She said the difference between surviving and living is learning to breathe underwater. You can't stop the waves, can't control the current, but you can learn to move through it instead of fighting it every second. I don't know how to do that. Neither does anyone else. We're all just pretending until it becomes real. Sarah stood. I'm going to get real food. You need anything? Marina shook her head. She sat alone in the waiting room watching other people's emergencies play out. A mother with a sick child. An old man clutching his chest. A teenager who'd wrapped his car around a tree. Lives fragmenting and reforming in the space between ambulance and operating room. At some point, Marina's phone buzzed. Text from her mother. I saw the news. Are you involved in that shooting at the shelter? Call me immediately. Marina deleted it without responding. Another text. Jessica. OMG, are you okay? Adrian's been arrested. What is happening? Delete. Another. Unknown number. This is Sophie. Deborah gave me your number. I just wanted to say thank you for everything. You saved my life tonight. Marina stared at that one for a long time. Then she typed back. You saved your own life by being brave enough to leave. I just showed up. Feel better soon. M. 3 hours later, a doctor emerged from surgery. Marina stood so fast she nearly fell over. He's fine, the doctor said. Clean wound, no nerve damage. He'll be sore for a few weeks, but he'll recover fully. Marina's knees went weak. Can I see him? He's in recovery, still groggy from anesthesia, but yes. They led her to a small room where Roman lay in a hospital bed, looking smaller than she'd ever seen him. His arm was bandaged, IV in his hand, eyes closed. Marina sat in the chair beside the bed and took his free hand. Roman's eyes opened slowly. Hey yourself. Did we win? Marina almost laughed. What? The girl, Sophie, is she okay? She's fine. You got shot, but she's fine. Good. Roman's eyes started to close again. That's good. Roman. Why did you do it? Why did you walk toward a kid with a gun when you knew he might shoot? Roman was quiet for so long Marina thought he'd fallen asleep. Then he said, because I've spent 5 years being afraid. Afraid to feel anything. Afraid to want anything. Afraid to love anyone because losing them would destroy me again. He opened his eyes. Then I met you, and I wasn't afraid anymore. I was terrified. But that's different. How? Fear makes you small. Terror makes you brave. Fear is knowing you might lose something. Terror is knowing you will lose it and doing it anyway because the alternative is worse. Marina's throat was tight. What's the alternative? Never having it at all. Roman squeezed her hand weakly. I would rather have 2 days with you and lose everything than spend the rest of my life safe and alone. You got shot. Worth it. You could have died. Still worth it. Marina wanted to yell at him, wanted to tell him he was an idiot, wanted to explain that love wasn't supposed to hurt this much. Instead, she leaned forward and kissed him. Roman kissed her back like a drowning man finding air. His hand came up to cup the back of her neck, IV tubes and all, pulling her closer. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. I love you, Marina whispered. I'm terrified and furious and completely overwhelmed, but I love you. Roman's expression cracked wide open. Say it again. I love you. Again. I love you, Roman Vane, even though you're reckless and dangerous and you have terrible survival instincts. Roman laughed. It came out rough and broken, but real. I'll take it. They sat in silence for a while, Marina holding Roman's hand, Roman drifting in and out of consciousness. The hospital humming around them with its machinery and emergencies and people trying desperately to keep each other alive. What happens now? Marina asked quietly. I don't know, Roman admitted. I've never gotten this far before. You've never what? Fallen in love with someone and actually gotten to keep them. Roman's thumb traced patterns on her palm. Claire died before we could figure out what forever looked like. So I don't know what happens next. I just know I want to find out. Marina thought about her empty apartment, the wedding that would never happen, the mother who'd disowned her, the $5 million sitting in her bank account like a question she didn't know how to answer. I'm not ready to move in with you, she said. Okay. I'm not ready to jump from one relationship into another without figuring out who I am when I'm alone. Okay. I need time and space and therapy, probably a lot of therapy. Okay. Marina looked at him. You're being very agreeable for someone who just said he loves me. Because I do love you, which means I want you to have whatever you need, even if what you need is distance from me. Roman's eyes were clear despite the drugs. I spent 5 years trying to control everything because I thought control meant safety. But it doesn't. It just means you're alone in a very organized prison. So if you need space, take it. If you need time, take it. I'll be here when you're ready. What if I'm never ready? Then I'll love you from a distance until the day I die. Roman smiled. It was sad and honest and completely without expectation. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. No? No. I think you're going to take that $5 million and do something extraordinary with it. I think you're going to move into my mother's house and turn it into a home. I think you're going to keep working at Harbor and saving women who need someone to see them the way I see you. He paused. And I think eventually, when you're ready, you're going to let me be part of that life. Not because you need me, but because you want me. Marina's eyes burned. You sound very sure of yourself. I'm not. I'm terrified you'll realize you can do better, but I'm choosing to believe anyway. A nurse came in to check Roman's vitals, told Marina visiting hours were almost over, told Roman to get some rest. Marina stood to leave. Wait, Roman said. She turned back. The house in Oak Park. There's something I need to tell you about it. What? I didn't just give it to you for somewhere to stay. I gave it to you because... Roman stopped, started again. Because that house is where I learned what love looks like. My mother worked herself to death to keep it, to keep me and my brother fed and clothed and believing we could be more than where we came from. And I wanted you to have that, not just the building, but the feeling of being somewhere you're loved unconditionally. Marina couldn't speak. So if you decide you don't want it, that's fine. Sell it, rent it out, burn it down for all I care. But know that when I gave it to you, I was giving you the only thing I have that's worth anything. The memory of what home feels like. Marina walked back to the bed, kissed Roman's forehead. I'll take care of it. I know you will. She left the hospital and drove through Chicago in the early morning darkness. Valentine's Day was over. February 15th had arrived right on schedule. The world kept turning despite everything. Marina went to Oak Park. The house looked different in the dawn light, less like a tomb, more like a possibility. She used the key. Walked inside, looked at the covered furniture and the boxes and the note from Roman's mother still on the refrigerator. Then she called Deborah. It's 6 a.m, Deborah answered. This better be good. How many women did you turn away last month because you didn't have space? Silence. Then, 17. Why? What if you had more space? Marina, we've talked about this. Opening another facility requires funding we don't have. The waiting list for grants is 2 years minimum, and I have $5 million. Deborah stopped talking. I want to turn this house into a satellite location, Marina continued. Somewhere women can go when harbor's full. Somewhere safe. Somewhere with actual bedrooms instead of bunk beds. Somewhere that feels like a home instead of an institution. Marina... I know it's crazy. I know it needs permits and inspections and probably 1,000 other things I haven't thought of, but I want to do this. I want to take the worst thing that ever happened to me and turn it into something that helps people. Deborah was quiet for a long time. Then she said, When can we start? Marina smiled. Today. The next 3 months were chaos. Permits, inspections, contractors, lawyers, endless paperwork and bureaucratic nightmares that made Marina want to scream. But slowly, painfully, the house transformed. Roman's childhood bedroom became a nursery for women with infants. His mother's room became a counseling space. The living room became a common area with comfortable furniture and books and windows that let in actual light. Roman stayed away like he'd promised, but Sarah stopped by once a week with updates. He's doing well, Sarah said during one visit. Started practicing law again, opened a firm that specializes in prosecuting abusers and corrupt officials, pro bono mostly. I think watching you build this place gave him ideas about what to do with his anger besides bury it. Is he seeing anyone? Marina asked before she could stop herself. Sarah smiled. No, he's waiting for you. I didn't ask him to do that. You didn't have to. Marina threw herself into the work, hired staff, set up intake procedures, worked with Deborah to identify the women who needed this place most. On opening day, 5 women moved in. One of them was Sophie. I can't pay rent, Sophie said quietly. Not for a while anyway. Good thing it's free then, Marina replied. Sophie looked around the house with wonder. It's beautiful. It's home, for as long as you need it. That night, Marina sat alone in the kitchen where Roman's mother's note still hung on the refrigerator. She'd refused to take it down. It felt important to keep it there, a reminder that this house had always been about love surviving impossible odds. Her phone buzzed. Text from Roman. Heard about the opening. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. Marina stared at the message. They'd been texting sporadically for 3 months. Nothing heavy, just small updates. Proof of life. She typed back. Thank you. For everything. For the house. For giving me space. For not giving up on me when I gave up on myself. His response came immediately. I could never give up on you, even if I tried. Marina took a breath. Typed something. Deleted it. Typed again. I'm ready. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Ready for what? To see you. To talk. To figure out what comes next. When? Now? 45 minutes later, headlights pulled into the driveway. Marina watched from the kitchen window as Roman got out of his truck. He looked thinner, tired, but alive in ways he hadn't been before. She opened the door before he could knock. They stood there looking at each other, 3 months of silence and space and healing between them. Hi, Roman said. Hi. House looks good. Thanks. You should see the inside. I'd like that. Marina stepped aside. Roman walked in slowly, taking in all the changes. The fresh paint, the furniture, the sounds of women and children living upstairs. You did this, he said quietly. You took something broken and made it beautiful. We did this. You gave me the house. I just made it useful. No, you made it matter. Roman turned to face her. You made everything matter again. Marina's chest was tight. I'm still terrified. Of what? That I'm going to wake up one day and realize this was all too fast. That I jumped from one disaster into another without learning anything. That I'm going to hurt you or you're going to hurt me and we'll destroy each other. We might, Roman agreed. Love's risky like that. No guarantees, no safety net. Just 2 people choosing each other every day and hoping it's enough. What if it's not? Then at least we tried. At least we were brave enough to want something instead of settling for surviving. Marina looked at him, this dangerous, damaged man who'd shown her what honesty looked like, who'd walked into gunfire for a stranger, who'd given her everything and asked for nothing. I love you, she said. I'm still figuring out what that means and how to do it without losing myself. But I love you. Roman crossed the distance between them and pulled her into his arms. That's all I need to know. They stood there in the kitchen holding each other while the house settled around them. Upstairs, someone laughed. A baby cried. Water ran. Life happening in all its messy, beautiful chaos. What happens now? Marina asked against his chest. Now we live, Roman said. We wake up tomorrow and do the work and help the people who need us and figure out how to be together without destroying each other. That's not very romantic. No, but it's honest. Roman pulled back to look at her. And honest is all I know how to be with you. Marina reached up and touched his face, traced the scar on his cheekbone she'd never asked about. Okay? Okay? Let's try. Let's be terrified together. Let's build something real instead of safe. Roman smiled. It was the first real smile she'd seen from him in months. I can work with that. They took it slow after that. Roman came to dinner once a week, helped with repairs around the house, sat with Marina on the porch while Chicago seasons changed from winter to spring to summer. They talked, really talked, about Claire and how grief never actually ends, it just gets quieter, about Adrian rotting in prison, and whether forgiveness was necessary or just another kind of prison, about Marina's mother who never called and whether that absence was a wound or a gift. They fought sometimes. About Roman's tendency to solve problems with money instead of patience. About Marina's need to fix everyone even when they didn't ask for help. About how to love each other without losing themselves. But they didn't run. A year after Valentine's Day, Marina woke up in Roman's mansion with morning light streaming through windows that overlooked Chicago. Roman was already awake, watching her with that same intense focus he'd had the night they met. What? Marina asked, self-conscious. Just memorizing this, in case I wake up one day and it's gone. It's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Marina thought about everything they'd survived. The violence, the betrayal, the gunshot, the healing, the slow, painful work of learning to trust. Yeah, she said. I promise. Roman kissed her, soft and sure. Good. Because I bought something. He reached into the nightstand and pulled out a small box. Marina's breath caught. Roman! It's not what you think. Open it. Inside was a key, simple, silver, attached to a keychain that said, Home. It's the spare key to this place, Roman explained. I want you to have it. Not because I expect you to move in right now, but because I want you to know you always have somewhere to go, somewhere safe, somewhere you're wanted. Marina's eyes burned. You're doing it again. Doing what? Being perfect when I need you to just be human. I am human, a fucked up, traumatized human who's desperately in love with you and trying not to screw it up. Marina laughed through tears. You're doing fine. Yeah? Yeah? She took the key, added it to her own keychain where it sat next to the key for Oak Park. 2 homes, 2 chances, 2 versions of the life she was building. That summer, Harbor Oak Park, as they'd named it, expanded, added more beds, hired more staff, helped more women. Sophie moved out after 8 months, got her own apartment, started community college, came back once a month to volunteer and tell her story to women who needed to hear that survival was possible. Adrian served his time in a federal facility downstate. Marina never visited, never wrote, never thought about him except when she saw her reflection and remembered a time when she believed she should be grateful for any love at all. Roman's law firm became one of Chicago's most feared, not because of violence, because of justice. He took cases other lawyers wouldn't touch, went after powerful men who thought they were untouchable, won more often than he lost. And every night he came home to Marina, sometimes at Oak Park, where she spent her evenings cooking dinner for women who'd forgotten what safe felt like. Sometimes at the mansion where they sat on the roof and watched stars and talked about everything and nothing. They never officially moved in together, never combined bank accounts, never did any of the traditional relationship things that mark commitment, but they chose each other, every single day. 3 years after the night they met at Onyx, Marina woke up on Valentine's Day to find Roman already gone. She knew where he was. She drove to the cemetery on the north side, found him standing in front of Claire's grave holding flowers. Marina stayed in the car for a moment, giving him space, respecting the grief that would always be part of who he was. Then she got out and walked over. Roman turned when he heard her footsteps. His eyes were wet. "Hey," he said. "Hey yourself." Marina stood beside him. "You okay?" "Yeah, just..." He gestured at the headstone. "Telling her about you, about us, about how I finally figured out how to live instead of just survive." Marina looked at the grave. Claire Donovan, beloved daughter, sister, friend. The dates carved in stone marking a life cut short. "You think she'd approve?" Marina asked quietly. "I think she'd be happy I'm not drinking myself to death anymore." Roman set the flowers down. "And I think she'd like you. You're both terrifying when you're angry." Marina smiled. "I'll take that as a compliment." They stood in silence for a while. Then Roman said, "I need to tell you something." Marina's stomach clenched. "What?" "I've been thinking about the future, about what I want, what we want." Roman turned to face her. "And I know we said we'd take things slow. I know we agreed not to rush into anything, but Marina, I want more." "More what?" "More everything. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to fight about whose turn it is to take out the trash. I want to build something permanent with you instead of just seeing where things go." He took her hands. "I want to marry you." Marina's breath stopped. "Not now," Roman added quickly. "Not until you're ready. Could be next month, could be 10 years. I don't care. But I needed you to know that's where I'm headed. That's what I'm choosing. You. Forever. However long you'll have me." Marina stared at him. This man who'd destroyed her life and rebuilt it, who'd shown her what love looked like when it wasn't transactional, who'd given her space to heal and time to grow, and never once demanded she be anything other than herself. "Ask me," she said. Roman blinked. "What?" "Ask me to marry you." "Marina, I just said..." "I know what you said, and I'm saying ask me. Right now, here." Roman's expression cracked open. Hope and fear and desperate want all tangled together. "You're sure?" "I'm terrified, but I'm sure." Roman dropped to one knee right there in the cemetery mud, pulled out a ring Marina hadn't even known he was carrying. "Marina Vale, will you marry me?" Marina looked at the ring. Simple band, single stone. Nothing like the ostentatious thing Adrian had given her. She looked at Roman kneeling in front of his dead fiancé's grave, asking her to be his wife. She looked at the life they'd built from wreckage and hope, and the stubborn refusal to give up on each other. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I'll marry you." Roman stood and kissed her like the world was ending and beginning all at once. When they finally broke apart, both of them were crying. "I love you," Roman said. "I love you so much it terrifies me." "Good," Marina replied. "We'll be terrified together." They got married 6 months later in the backyard of Oak Park. Small ceremony. Just Sarah and Deborah and a handful of women from the shelter who'd become family. No fancy dress, no elaborate reception, just two people promising to choose each other even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. Sophie read a poem she'd written. Deborah cried through the entire ceremony. Sarah gave a toast that was equal parts touching and threatening about what would happen if Roman ever hurt Marina. And when the officiant said, "You may kiss your wife," Roman looked at Marina like she'd hung the stars just for him. "Ready for forever?" he whispered. "With you? Always." They kissed while everyone cheered and the sun set over Chicago, and somewhere in the house a baby cried, and life continued in all its messy, beautiful chaos. That night, Marina and Roman sat on the roof of the mansion like they'd done 1,000 times before. Chicago spread out below them, stars above them, each other beside them. "You know what I realized?" Marina said. "What?" "That night at Onyx when you offered me $5 million for 24 hours? That wasn't the transaction." "No?" "No. The transaction was me selling myself short for 28 years, accepting scraps, hiding my scars, believing I should be grateful anyone wanted me at all." Marina turned to look at him. "You didn't buy me, Roman. You gave me the resources to buy myself back." Roman's eyes were bright. "Best investment I ever made." "Yeah?" "Yeah." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Marina said, "I'm pregnant." Roman went very still. "What?" 3 months. I found out last week. I wanted to wait until after the wedding to tell you, but..." She laughed. "I'm terrible at keeping secrets from you." Roman's hands were shaking as he touched her stomach. "We're having a baby. We're having a baby. I don't know how to be a father. My dad was in prison. I don't have any good examples. What if I..." Marina took his face in her hands. "You're going to be great. You're going to be terrified and overprotective, and you're going to make 1,000 mistakes. But you're going to love this kid the way you love me. Completely, honestly, without reservation. I don't deserve this. After everything I've done, none of us deserve anything. We just get to choose what we do with what we're given." Marina kissed him softly. "And I choose you. This baby chooses you, so you better get used to it." Roman pulled her into his arms and held her like she was the only solid thing in a spinning world. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For saving my life." "I think we saved each other." "Yeah, we did." They stayed on the roof until the sun started rising, watching Chicago wake up, watching their future unfold one moment at a time. Two broken people who'd found each other in the wreckage and built something beautiful from the pieces. Not perfect, never perfect, but real. And honest. And theirs. 5 years after the night they met, Marina stood in the kitchen of Oak Park making breakfast while her 3-year-old son raced through the house and Roman followed behind trying to convince him that pants were non-negotiable. The shelter upstairs was full. 12 women and 6 children, all learning what it meant to be safe, to be seen, to be worth saving. Marina's phone buzzed, text from Sophie, who was in her last year of college studying social work. "Got my first placement for my internship. Guess where?" "Harbor," Deborah says hi. Marina smiled and typed back, "Proud of you. Come by for dinner this week." Roman appeared in the doorway holding their son, who was still pantless and victorious. "Little help here?" Roman asked. Marina laughed. "You're the one who told him he could pick his own clothes. I didn't think he'd choose chaos. He's your son. What did you expect?" Roman grinned, set their son down and watched him race off to terrorize the residents upstairs, who would spoil him rotten and send him back sugar high and impossible. Then Roman crossed to Marina and wrapped his arms around her from behind, rested his chin on her shoulder while she finished scrambling eggs. "I love our life," he said quietly. "Even the chaos?" "Especially the chaos." They stood there for a moment, just breathing together, being together, choosing together. Outside the window, Chicago hummed with its million lives and infinite possibilities. But inside Oak Park, everything was exactly where it needed to be. Broken people learning to heal. Lost people finding home. Two souls who'd met in darkness and chosen to build their own light. Marina turned in Roman's arms and kissed him. Happy Valentine's Day. Roman smiled against her lips. Every day with you is Valentine's Day. That's the cheesiest thing you've ever said. I know, but it's true. And it was. Because love wasn't a transaction or a fairy tale or a promise that everything would be perfect. Love was choosing someone every single day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Love was building a home from wreckage. Love was two terrified people holding each other's hands and jumping off the cliff together. Love was messy and complicated, and sometimes it hurt like hell. But it was real. And real was all they'd ever needed.